I begin with one question, sir.
Yeah.
Where were you born?
I was born in Chennai, India, which is the south of India.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long were you in Chennai?
I was there till the age of 21. And that's when I came here. I came here to do my
A master's.
master's. Yeah.
So for people that may not know, Asian immigrant communities that come here later in life usually
Mhm.
come here to get a graduate degree,
Yeah.
like a doctoral degree, something like that, with the idea that you're supposed to be going back. I think at some point, isn't that what like your government really wants?
No, I don't think the government wants anything.
No, they don't care. Like
They don't
you
care.
can leave and just be gone.
They don't really care about it or control anything like that. But there is that aspect of I've always like thought about like going back at some point
To live or just to visit?
to to because there's this. I like the lifestyle here. Like I'm so at this point, it's like half of my life is almost half of my life is here.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
So getting
because
close to 40.
I'm getting close to 40, so it's gonna be half and half, and there are parts of me which are very Americanized right now. And
And that you can tell that by your set. Some of the words that you use,
yeah.
it almost makes me feel like you grew up in New York.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way at
Yeah,
all. It's just
yeah.
like it's very
Yeah.
American, kind of like messing with the crowd kind of work. Like
Yeah.
the kind of, I don't know how to explain it properly, but it sounds American. Kinda
Yeah.
Like,
I'm very much influenced by like New York comedy and New York comedians.
do you have a favorite
Uh,
in the New York scene or at all?
it's not a popular choice, but yeah, it's Louis C.K.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love Louis C.K.
It's very controversial to
He's
say
not
that.
on this wall, but
Yeah.
he was part of 26 that were supposed to go on this wall.
Mhm.
It didn't work. I had to break it down into like 6,
Yeah. Yeah.
which, it hurts, but
Yeah.
yeah, Louis C.K. is hilarious, man.
Yeah. I think one of the first comics that I saw when I came here was Russell Peters. So he was pretty much blowing up in 2006 when I came here to do my master's, and especially amongst the Indian community. And everybody was like going crazy. It was like this bootleg recorded thing. Some kid recorded it and put it on YouTube.
Is that the old one where he was doing it in Canada?
Yeah, it was,
He
yeah.
still has the earring, I think, and the slicked hair or the
He's wa-
spiky hair.
He's wearing a white shirt,
Yes, it's a button down, right?
button down,
I
white
remember
shirt.
that. That's like early YouTube days.
Yes, early YouTube days, and it's like there's this brown background
Yes.
on a stage in
It just
Canada.
seems like a random comedy club, right?
Yeah, it's like
or
I think it's like a theater.
Maybe?
I think
Yeah, a
it's
random
I
theater.
think some theater there in Canada, and but if it like everybody's like against stuff like bootleg and stuff like that.
So they don't like that kind of stuff in India?
No, I mean, it's pretty much like
Because
no,
I've heard it's synonymous. Everywhere you go,
it's
American
prevalent.
stuff comes in and
Yes,
everybody wants to get
100%. Yeah, no, but I'm saying it's over here. You would think that kind of stuff was not appreciated, and I believe like even Russell Peters was not expecting that to be out, and probably was not so happy that it was out.
Really?
But-
I mean, it's a
but-
funny set, dude.
But
Like,
that's
it's
what
hilarious.
I think. That's what launched his career.
Because I know he makes fun of his dad in that one.
Yeah,
There's parts where he does the accent, and for the first time,
Yeah.
Even us, like, okay, immigrants, first generation in this country,
yeah,
you connect with it because you're like,
Yeah.
my dad, it doesn't sound like, but it's the
Mhm.
exact same stuff, just different words and a different accent. So
Yeah.
it's really funny for anyone watching it.
yeah. Where are you from? What are you?
Armenia.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay,
Armenia,
yeah.
I was born there, lived in LA for 30 plus years, and then live here now.
Okay. What age did you come here?
I was 5, so I was a baby. Like, I was young.
Oh,
I was
okay,
very young.
okay.
All my schooling has been here from like
Yeah.
elementary to college. Everything was
Yeah.
done in the States.
I think this other comedian Shri. I don't know if you know him.
Sri Raj?
Sri Raj.
He
I think he's very similar. Like
guest
he.
number 13, I think.
Oh, okay.
12? He's been
Okay,
on my
yeah.
podcast. Yeah.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
connected on beards. It was hilarious.
He's. I think he came here too. Like when he was around that age. I think.
Yeah.
6 or 7, right?
I think he was young when he came here.
You're right.
I know Raj Sharma came here a little bit later in life,
Mhm.
right?
I think pretty, but I want to say pretty young.
I know.
Oh,
went to,
he
like,
was born in London, I think.
Yeah, so he didn't come here until like I think his teens, but not
Right.
U.S. based. I mean,
Right.
London's very different
Probably
from
early
here.
teens or something.
I believe
I
so because I know
believe
he
so.
had like school and
Yeah.
college and stuff here. And
Yeah.
So And he was talking about like the small town that they came to where there's like,
Yeah.
nobody knew what an Indian person was.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I
It
know
was
he went
Mesquite.
through schooling here. Yeah, Mesquite, exactly.
Yeah, man.
But I mean, out of Mesquite came one of the funniest jokes I've ever heard on religion. The one that when he talks about getting hit so hard in football that he saw another religion's God.
Yeah. That's so
best.
good. Yeah.
Such a funny
It's a
joke.
classic line.
Yeah. I love the way, and he like goes into it and kind of breaks it down, and it's really good. You got to see it to kind of actually appreciate it. This doesn't do it justice at all.
Yeah. I mean, live comedy is like something else. I think when I saw Russell Peters was my first intro to stand-up comedy.
Like live or just actually seeing?
Like actually seeing.
Just seeing, yeah.
Because I think I had no idea about stand-up when I was in India. Like I don't remember seeing anything at all.
38,
I'm 38 now.
So yeah, we're roughly the same age. I'm 37, you're 38.
Yeah.
And I remember it was like one of the first things that, like, remember Napster and LimeWire?
Yeah,
and stuff?
yes.
We would download, like, it would just ruminate around school. Like, hey, have you heard of this?
Right.
And then from there, it kind of like expanded into you're like, oh, this is a thing that exists.
Right.
Because when you're a kid, you have no idea.
No idea.
That words can make people just hysterically laugh or cry uncontrollably laughing.
Right.
But yeah, Russell did that.
Yes.
It was one of the funniest things. And you're like 13 and you got it, or you're 14 and you got it, and you're like, oh my God, this is perfect. Like, it works.
Yeah. I think when I first saw him, I was like, wow, I must have been like 21 or something.
Okay.
And it's specifically like it's such a proud moment. It's also like, oh, this guy's Indian, but he talks like this, and then he's making all these people laugh, and then he's like doing accents and stuff like that. And I was a kid that grew up doing accents. I mean, like doing impressions of people around me.
Right.
So as soon as I saw that, I was like, that spoke to me immediately. Like, it's like, I was like, oh, I wish I could be like this guy on stage someday. Like, it's like, but I didn't have I think I didn't have it like verbalized in my head.
Like how to kind of make the jokes happen?
Yeah, how to, like, I didn't have the verbal feeling of like I should be a comedian. I never said it out loud, but I just saw that and I was like, wow, what is that? Like, it's like, and this feeling of that'll be great if I could experience that. That was in my head.
So you got Russell, and then where does it go from there?
From there,
how do we progress from Russell Peters, which you could literally say is a clean comedian compared to Louis C.K.
I mean, Russell's
clean, but I'm just saying, like, if you compared it to Louis,
sure.
far end of the spectrum.
Oh yeah, sure. I think Louis came much later on for me in terms of. I mean, it is all like I only heard all these comedians through other people. They're like, there was this other friend of mine in my master's who's very savvy, like, in terms of like, we listen to the same kind of music like Pink Floyd and like all those things, like
all the music our parents listened to, that we didn't understand until we got to a point where like, holy shit, this is amazing.
Exactly.
This is genius level work.
Exactly. Well, my parents never listened to Pink Floyd. They listened to ABBA or Boney M or stuff like that.
So my mom listened to ABBA, Beatles, Frank Zappa was around in our house, and it kind of like was a springboard. Where I was like, okay, music in this era existed, and then I was like, what else is there? And I stumbled upon like the Black Sabbaths and the Pink Floyd, Deep Purple, the Who, the Doors, and you're just like, it never ends. It goes, and then you might fall into like a punk era kind of a thing where the Sex Pistols, the Ramones, and you're just like, oh man, this is so good. Green Day.
Yeah.
I don't know, like that's kind of how I kind of stumbled into it. So like ABBA was definitely in the house. Every house had it.
Yes. And I remember listening to ABBA like in my childhood. Like, my mom had a cassette. It was the mom in my household, like, who was more savvy towards stuff like that.
Musically inclined.
I mean, towards like Western music and stuff. Like my dad was never into stuff like that.
Was he into music at all?
Yeah, he was, but it's more like Hindi music.
Okay, kind of like what he grew up around.
Like, he grew up in Delhi, and then he had influences of that kind of filmy music from that part of the world. So he was influenced by, I don't know, singers from like the 50s and the 60s. And my mom was more like the 70s. So I think by the time the 70s came around, it's like that's when she was doing her college, 60s and 70s. So that's when, I don't know, ABBA, Beatles, all of those. So she was influenced by all that.
I mean, the 60s and the 70s, there was a lot of good music.
A lot of good music. So I think she had like a few cassettes, tape cassettes, and we used to play those. We used to, me and my brother, we used to have like so much fun, like recording stuff from the radio.
Oh, like on tapes, right?
Like on tapes.
We used to do that too.
Yeah. You buy like a 60-minute tape, and then I never knew that was a term here until like a long time when. The people used to say like oh, you buying this mix, you want to listen to my mixtape. Like comedians joke about stuff like that, like they saw some guy on the street corner like selling his mixtape, and then people laugh, and I was like, what is that? Like I never understood that. And then suddenly like somebody explained that to me and one day, and then I was like, that's what we used to do that. And it's like, that's not like just an American thing. That's pretty much like a universal.
I believe so,
thing,
because I think everybody everywhere who had access to a tape deck that could record was recording stuff off the radio. Yeah. It's like the original pirating.
Right.
When do you get to the States? We got 21, I think.
So 2006 is when I got here.
And where did you land? In Texas or?
In Texas, in Richardson, Texas.
Okay.
I went to school here at UT Dallas.
Got it. What were you studying for your master's program?
Telecommunications engineering. That's what I came here for. But man, I was like so intimidated by everything around me. Like the roads, the speed at which the cars were moving. I don't know, like it was just like a different smell in the air and all that. Like it's this, just like I've never taken a flight in my whole life, and my first flight was the flight to United States.
And you come by yourself?
I came by myself. Well, with I found like a couple of other students who were coming to the same program. And I think we got like, we somehow managed to like sit together or something. We got like seats together. We all met up beforehand and planned it out. So it was not entirely alone, but it's like.
Still alone.
Still alone, Yeah. Pretty daunting. When I first came here, I was like, what is this? And my parents were like mighty worried for me because like, back home, even in college, like I never stayed like in a hostel or stuff like that. Like, I used to go to college and come back home every day. It was like miles and miles away.
This is in India.
But yeah, man, but I think I took to it pretty well. I was not one of those kids that was like homesick a lot or stuff like that. I think I was like, yeah, good. Like, yeah, I need this independence, like, and just started like discovering stuff,
Yeah.
And it helped that people from like other students from my college were also in the same program. So we had this shared, it's like, oh, we're all in this together sort of a thing.
Got it. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah. And so Richardson, you do 2 years, I'm guessing, for your master's?
2 years, yeah.
2 years of your master's. Did you end up working in the telecommunications engineering field?
Right. That's what to this day I do that.
Okay, so you are in that business.
In that space.
Okay. Yeah. What does that actually entail? What does telecommunications engineer do?
They pretty much I don't know. I've worked on like 3G, 4G, 5G now. Like testing stuff, like telecom equipment, network stuff, and phones and whatnot.
Okay.
So you make sure everything works. There's a lot of things that go behind. Like we just take it for granted, right? Like you just take a thing, Google within a split second, you see stuff, or you call. You don't think of what goes behind. But
most people don't. Yeah.
Most people don't, though. So it's like there's a lot of testing. There's a lot of engineering, like protocols and stuff that goes over the air, and everything happens within like a split second.
Okay, that makes sense.
So yeah, that's the space I work in.
And are you just more like on the testing side of things? And
I've done all sorts of things. I've been on testing side. I've been on like a product management side. I've been on technical support side, stuff like that. So I've been pretty much all over. Yeah.
So how did you end up kind of like getting into comedy? I mean, all of us watch comedians, but
right.
A very rare few want to kind of get on stage and be like, I can try this.
Yeah, I think it's just over time. Like I watched like Russell Peters. Then one of my friends from college introduced me to George Carlin, and Mr. Carlin was like such a huge influence on me. It's like I watched him like repeatedly. Like by the time there was like so many of his videos on YouTube. And I clearly remember being like just wowed and like intimidated by that. And I clearly remember thinking like, it's like, oh shit, if this is stand up, then I can never do stand up, because who can possibly memorize like paragraphs and paragraphs of stuff like that and be so eloquent and without like a single, mistake, speak like that.
Yeah, I guess most people don't recognize that. Like before he actually puts it on tape, there's probably hundreds of hours.
Yeah,
of him
that's
just
like
working it out at different little clubs, and big clubs.
Yeah, there's like usually they say like there's like about 200 shows before like a special comes out.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I hear. But yeah, I was just blown away by that. Blown away by how prolific he was. How many specials he had put out. Like he's the only comedian to like I think have like about 8 HBO specials, which is like an all-time record.
I believe so, yeah.
And nobody else has got it.
Hold the record with HBO.
Yeah.
And I mean, for those that don't know George Carlin, you're hurting yourself by not going through his entire library, because he went through different shifts and changes as a comedian. At one point, he was like fully clean, and then he went really dirty.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, the 7 words you can't say on TV and radio.
He was the hippy dippy
that's
weatherman.
Still one of the
doing all
greatest,
those.
like the greatest things ever.
Right.
And he's still relevant, even though he's passed on many years ago. Like he's still very relevant.
I still see like on Instagram, like on the search page, he'll still pop up every now and then, or on the feed it pops up, and then you click on the video, and then it's crazy. Like this is still applicable today. Still like this still holds up.
The stuff he was telling us about 15, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, it's like it's happened and is happening. And you're like, was it always happening? And just like the internet exposed more?
Right.
Because like if you look back, you see so much of it. You're like, oh, that's just weird.
Yeah. Like, even in terms of like politics and everything, is like my learning of politics and everything is like so slow. But just seeing his stuff and seeing what's happening today is like, that meant all those things, all those observations, all those things happened even back in the early 90s, which means this is how it's always been. Or these things have always been a certain way, and of course they've evolved, but what he's saying is also like still relevant and still applicable to, which means much of that has not changed till now,
Seems like none of it has changed. It's just evolved the way you're saying.
Yeah.
And that's the sad part, is we look at what's happening today thinking it just happened.
Yeah.
But we fail to recognize that the inception of something may have been multiple decades ago.
Oh, yeah.
Because you may look at something and plan out like a year ahead, 5 days ahead, whatever. Certain people are planning decades ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Multiple decades ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Like I think, like I'm pretty sure like back when World War II was happening, or when it ended, when the bombs were dropped in Japan, like people were probably thinking like it's like, oh, this is like probably the end of the world, Same thing happened during, I heard of interviews of people in Vietnam. They were during that moment, when people were protesting, saying, the world is going to hell, like it's going to end, And there's always this notion. Now we have a different flavor of that notion, in terms of climate change, or I don't know, nuclear war between Russia and Ukraine. Oh, that could end the whole thing. There's always been this tension, and there's always I think it's a constant human feeling that the world can always end.
Oh yeah, systematic destruction has always loomed over humankind.
Yeah, this looming feeling. Yeah,
it's like look all the way back to whatever our most earliest understanding of what a human being is.
Mm-hmm.
It's all been a struggle.
Yeah,
every single moment of it for humankind is a struggle. There is no like utopian moment.
No,
and now it's just like, I think it's more self-imposed than it ever has been before.
Right.
Before it was the elements that could kill you and nature. Now, as we progress as civilization, as civilized humans, we're just killing each other more.
Oh yeah. It's now we are like, I mean, I think nobody has like dominated any species more than we have. Like in current day, I'm saying like.
Yeah, like it's dominating each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the animal kingdom kind of follows an order to a certain degree. I think that
right.
they kill, they get killed, they live, they die, whatever. But
Right.
for us, it's like we kill.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't kill for survival usually. We kill for the stupidest reasons.
Yeah, now it's not about survival. Now, I think now you're like, if you get killed by a lion, you got to be like pretty stupid. You know what I'm saying?
Depends on where you live in the world.
Yeah. I think when I talk about that, it's like I'm thinking about the cities, right?
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm diabolically opposed to zoos. I hate the idea of zoos.
Yeah. Have you been to the Dallas Zoo?
No, I've been to the San Diego and the LA Zoo.
I hear the San Diego Zoo is like the best.
There's no such thing as a best zoo.
No?
It's just a prison
for
animals.
Oh, yeah.
There's a difference between like a zoo and these massive reserves that have sometimes thousands of acres of land, and they're just like, we make sure nobody comes in and kill these animals.
Right.
We don't
necessarily cage them. Yeah.
We don't cage them so you can come and look, oh, mommy, the giraffe. No, dude, it just doesn't make sense to me why we've always had this caging mentality. We cage each other and we cage other animals.
Yeah, I think it's like a notion of control, right?
Yeah. Like I have no problem with people having cats, dogs, or whatever pet you have in your house, but that's different. Like usually that thing is pampered way more than a wild animal would.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you got a dog. That dog's probably eating organic and bottled Fiji water and all this other crap, and you're like, okay, I never grew up like this, but okay, that works.
Right.
But a lion in like, I don't care how many thousands of square feet you give it, unless you've given it, 2 or 3 million acres, which is the size of what its natural habitat would be, then you screwed it over.
Oh, yeah.
It's painful to see. Because I've never seen happy animals at a zoo.
Yeah, what happens if, in the near future, like, I don't know, with AI and all that happening, there could be a day like when roles are like reversed, right?
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
Because think of it this way. AI is getting developed without any oversight.
Right.
And it's too late to do
It's
oversight.
too late for the oversight,
Because you can be some kid at your, garage, have the proper skills and the knowledge, and create your own AI.
Yeah.
Who's going to stop you?
Who's going to stop you? Yeah. I know.
And that's the frightening part, is like a kid in a garage building an AI that he has no idea, or she has no idea how to control.
Right.
I don't trust the government, but I feel like they put more fail-safes in place than a 17-year-old. Possibly.
Yeah.
I'm going to preface that with possibly.
Yeah, it's like, have you watched Black Mirror?
No, I have not gotten into that one. Everybody keeps saying you should watch it. You should watch it.
You should watch it. Because that's more in line with something like that can happen in the near future. And now we are seeing the advent of AI and all that. And now I can see that it's like, oh, that's very much possible. Like that episode that I saw, like, oh, that's very much possible. Like it's, it's only like few years, something like that can happen.
I really get into stuff.
Yeah.
So if I get into a show, I'm going to get into a show, and it's like, it's too many seasons. So it's a daunting task to kind of allocate that much time for leisure. It just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't want to die because I know I'm gonna like it.
Yeah.
Because there's.
Are you one of those binge watching guys?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like if I start an episode and then I'm like, oh,
you cannot
cool.
stop.
And then I'm like, hey, 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Now I don't want that. It's like, no, please. Yeah. So I only watch stuff that's like new that has a season. Like Peripheral was a show that I got into. It had a season. Jack Ryan, I started from the beginning, so I only watch 1 season at a time.
Okay.
That's manageable.
Yeah.
But.
Or where they keep releasing like 1 episode every week. Now they're back to like network television. That's what I hear. Right?
So Amazon had that model of like an episode a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why they follow that model, but I like it.
Yeah.
I think just...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I think people like that inherently. Like even, like back in the ABC, NBC days, it gives you the anticipation where it's like, oh, I'm with this series right now. And then I'm watching. That's how I was watching Breaking Bad. I clearly remember that. And it's like episode by episode. And it's you have to wait a week.
And I was okay with that because
doesn't spoil your sleep,
I think what it may also be doing is, I'm thinking about it myself, is like, if I sit there and binge watch a show for an entire season, I'm kind of like done watching stuff for a while.
Yeah.
So if I'm on a weekly basis, I only just did an hour on a Tuesday.
Right.
There's all this time to kind of like see something else that's happening.
Right.
And that anticipation, you're right. Like when a season of something ended, you're like, okay, now I got to wait for the summer to end or the fall to end when we get, or winter, whenever it was, to get to the new stuff.
Yeah.
It made it fun.
Yeah.
Made it interesting.
Yeah.
Now it's just boring.
Now it's boring. Yeah. And it's like, I'm equally I'm equally the same way. Like it's, sometimes I get into this trap of the binge watch, but it's only with like certain series. It has to like pique my interest, and then I'm like, oh shit! Like you watch first episode, and I was like, oh, I cannot stop right now.
And I've proposed this question, and I will continue to propose this question until probably I die, because I don't know if an answer will ever come.
Mm-hmm.
Where do the thoughts come from? You can tell me the chemicals, and you can tell me the pheromones, and you can tell me all of this stuff, but nobody can actually give me a good answer as to how the hell does a thought pop into someone's head where I don't know, physics is discovered.
I think that's.
Do you understand
that's
the
like
complexity of something?
This is like this is a very advanced life form.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. Like
and it's so precise.
It's, I think for an animal, for sure they have thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Like it's got to come from external stimuli. First thing is like, I don't know, light, visual. There's sounds, there's taste, there's touch, tactile. Those are all things that could trigger certain neurons in your brain that causes like a rudimentary form of a thought. You know what I'm saying?
But see, that doesn't explain the thought.
But that it doesn't still explain.
We can explain the technical engineering process.
Yeah. But it's like, I think the way we have a thought is like way more evolved and advanced right now. You cannot possibly like stoop down to that level. But we still have like, the reason I say that is because I've thought about this, because like you still have indications of that, because you don't, like you, sometimes when you smell a certain thing, you're reminded of a thing in your childhood or like something from your past.
Well, that's a memory.
Yeah. But
Not
I'm saying
thought. Think of an original thought, something that. Inception of a joke.
Yeah.
Think of that. Yeah, I guess.
But I think everything
happens,
right? comes from memory is what I think, because it's or like your reaction to, it's a combination of things. You know what I'm saying? It's like nothing is like, I feel like nothing is like truly original, because like you see, like for instance, as a comedian, like you see stand up for a while. You see the way people deliver jokes, you see the way they construct jokes, somebody saying stuff, and yes, my, like all my jokes are my own, but I've not heard anybody else do it. But the form or fashion in which I constructed it, or the way it is said, it borrows it from like various people. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, but that's the problem, is like if you go all the way back, where did the first thought?
Oh, that's impossible to even explain. Yeah.
And then there's also these things that there's no way of explaining it.
No.
How do we come up with a wheel?
Yeah.
Fire.
Yeah.
Writing. Why did our brain evolve so much faster, evolutionarily speaking, than anything else?
Any other species
ever?
Yeah. Have you read The Sapiens?
No, I have not.
That's he explains that in that. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, but there's multiple different theories of how we evolved. One says that we ate magic mushrooms.
Yeah,
that evolved us. Apparently,
which I'm a big fan of.
I'm a proponent for. So what I've understood as I've gotten older, and I've gotten out of the mindset of dared not to do drugs and all that stupid shit that they taught us in school. You missed it because you came college.
I don't know. Yeah, a lot of comedians talk about the DARE program. Hey, my parents were my DARE program. You know what I'm saying?
So was my parents. Yeah, like oh my god, one of the funniest fucking stories ever, and it makes me crack up till this day. So I was 16, just got my license, got a ticket, and had to do Caltrans, which is like go clean on the side of the freeway. And I was living with my grandparents at the time, and my mom's neighbor also had to do Caltrans. So he's like, "Why don't you come over? We'll go in together in the morning." It's like at 5 o'clock in the morning, you have to be cleaning the freeway in the summer to pay off your debt. So I pack some clothes in like, a plastic bag, any type of, like grocery store one.
Yeah.
And I go to my mom's house.
Yeah.
I take a shower, I go downstairs, and I'm just hanging out with the neighbor, and she like calls me upstairs, and she's like, I need you to answer something. I'm like, okay, what's up?
Yeah.
I'm like, she's like, what is this? I'm like, what's what?
Yeah.
And she opens like a napkin, and inside of it is like dried tarragon or something that my grandmother had gotten earlier from one of her friends and just forgotten it in the bag.
Okay.
And she thinks it's weed. Like, she thinks I'm a full-on drug addict and shit at this point.
Shit.
And she's like bawling, crying, and I'm just laughing my fucking ass off because I'm like, I know what weed looks like at 16, and I'm like, it seems like some sort of a dry herb. What's going on? Like, I'm so confused until she finally says, I think it's weed, and I'm like, why don't you just ask the downstairs neighbor? They're fucking high all the time.
Yeah.
So she literally goes downstairs and she's like, what is this? And they're like, it seems like rosemary or something. You cooking? It's like the whole building. It's an apartment complex. Just like bawling, laughing at this. And that was my DARE program. Like, just like you, like even something that for sure my mom knows is tarragon or whatever the hell it is dried. But like the insane Armenian mom takes over and is like, nah, it can't be tarragon. Why would he have tarragon? He's not a chef like in secret or some bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, like she's like, it's got to be drugs.
Yeah.
This is the funniest
they associate your age and it's like, this has got to be this thing. It's like,
it was the funniest damn day of my life. And I was just like laughing.
Yeah.
And I like after the entire building explained to her, they're like,
did she apologize to you?
No, they're like, because
there's no apology for this.
There was no reason for apology because like the situation kind of completely defused when one of the neighbors actually brought out like a bag of weed and was like, here, lady, this is what weed looks like and this is what it smells like.
Oh, that is so funny.
And then my mom was like,
that is so funny.
What are you doing with it? She's and it was a husband and wife.
And
they were like a white couple, so not an immigrant couple. They were like, what do you mean, honey? We grew up in the 60s. What do you think we're doing with it?
Right. That is so funny.
I was crying laughing.
That is so funny.
Because, you know, it's one of those things where if a videotape was there, it would have gone viral of like a building rallying around a kid that did nothing wrong.
That is so funny. That should be an episode in a series. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Somebody should kind of like script that and turn it because
that's an episode for sure.
It's the funniest goddamn thing in the world. You're like, why do you think like you've been cooking your entire life, lady? You're like 40 something years old. Like, how do you not recognize tarragon or rosemary or whatever the dry herb is in a white?
Right.
And she called my grandma and my grandmother and my grandfather. I could literally hear them audibly crying, laughing at the idea that my mom had gotten so freaked out and an entire building of people were like trying to calm her down. Like, no, your son's not a drug addict. It's tarragon, lady. Let's just make some lunch.
Yeah, it was so funny.
I bring it up as like once in a while just to remind her. Like, remember when you were psycho about it? And then the thing now that I'm in my late 30s and I have like a more of a friendship relationship with my mom as an adult, I'm like, by the way, if you had ever opened the jacket pocket that was hanging in the closet for the leather coat that nobody ever wore, there was a quarter in there at all times since the age of 13. And I was like,
it was like right.
It was right there.
Under,
It was literally right. I'm like, it was shitty weed because we didn't know the difference. Like, you got skunk and somebody told you it was chronic, and you're like, okay.
With regards to like comedy or with regards to like music or sports or any of these other things,
the chance of making it
that
so
it's
low.
like you have to kind of be insane at some level and be in that space of constantly thinking that to be able to make a dent in that,
Yeah, if you're not insane,
it's that same thing. Like coming back to comedy, it's the same thing. It's like, I mean, look at Carlin, or any of these other people, Williams, Stephen Wright, Eddie Murphy, this Eddie Izzard, Lewis Black, all these people, they all like, and tons of more.
And Stephen Wright.
Yeah, Stephen Wright.
I mean, they exist
live
up
and
here
breathe
for innovation.
comedy.
Think about it. Like each one of them did something extremely different in the world of comedy and is known for their style of comedy.
Oh yeah, 100%. Who's your favorite of all time?
Carlin.
Okay.
Carlin has been and will always be my favorite comedian, but it is an extremely subjective favorite comedian. Where I think comedy should be. Your favorite comedian should be just as subjective as your favorite actor. It shouldn't be because everybody likes that person or something. There should be some sort of a very deep connection.
Yeah.
And Carlin did that for me because Carlin, for me, showed me that the true power of words. It wasn't just a comedy routine. It was the first time that I was exposed to, and I know there's other comedians at the time that were doing it. It's just my exposure was intelligent comedy where you learned something while you were laughing hysterically.
Right.
And he did it for so many different variety of ways.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's why Carlin is my number one. What about you? Who's your? Do you have like? It's interesting. Do almost all comedians have a favorite?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I want to say Carlin because of how. I mean, he had like such control over the words, like you said. Like, it's every word was like precise, and also like. I don't know, in terms of like everything, like he controlled everything, like the cadence, delivery, all of that, to a, like such perfection, it's hard to think of another comedian like that. But I think in today's lens, when you like, in terms of like, he's not like a haha funny kind of guy. Like when you look at his stuff from that time, like even in his last special, you're more like in awe of him and like listening to him.
More like a provocator.
Yeah, provocator.
Made you think.
Yeah.
He told you all the uncomfortable shit you didn't want to hear. Like his whole thing still holds true today, where he's like, we have the illusion of freedom in this country.
Yeah.
And he goes into it. He's like, you can get 32 flavors at Baskin Robbins, but you got 3 banks to choose from, and 4 cable news networks. And there's a lot of funny in it, but there's so much.
But he leans more to the side of like more making a point.
Yes.
Than bringing in the silly funny. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, he had those too, but I think in today's lens, when you look at it, it's like, oh man, this guy's so serious. That sort of a thing exists.
He's a different breed of comedian.
Yeah. So it's like, he's more like a, I don't know, social commentarian / comedian kind of guy. Philosopher, street philosopher. He falls in. I mean, all these guys like fall into that.
I think you nailed it. They're more. They're comedians that are philosophers also.
And I like that. I want to be that. You know what I'm saying? Like at some point, I want to be able to like, make them laugh, but also make them think, like a little bit. But I don't want to come across as like, oh, this guy's like preaching something. You know what I'm saying? I don't want that, but it should be more like, here's a deeper truth of life, and here's the funny. I'm making you laugh, but I'm going to make you think about that. I don't know of a better comedian than Louis C.K. that does that.
Louis C.K.?
Yeah. To me, him and Bill Burr, there are like very few of them today, like who make such like incisive, good points about life that you can reflect on, and you can think about it, and then you can be like, I'm also laughing about it, but I'm also like, oh, he's got a point. You
know who I would put up there that for some reason he's not up there in everybody's book except for comedians? Mm-hmm. Neil Brennan.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
He is a very thought-provoking comedian, and he's very funny. If you have a chance, check out Blocks.
Yeah,
his latest special.
Yeah, I'm yet to check that out. Like I've seen 3 mics, but I'm not seen.
Good.
Blocks.
3 mics was so good.
Yeah.
Billy Crystal is also one of those comedians that people kind of like think of him as the Oscars dude and like Multiplicity and his movies like that.
Yeah.
But if you look at 500 Days of Summer, it's kind of more of a one-man show.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much hilarity in it, and it makes you think so much. That's the true art of a comedian. Yeah. I was like literally deeply saddened when Carlin passed away, and when Robin Williams passed away. Like I really had this overwhelming sadness come about.
Right.
Almost, you don't know these people.
You don't know these people,
and they knew nothing of you. But like for something, they hit such an emotional mark with your life.
I think the way I view a comedian is like such a necessary thing for society and for the ethos, in terms of like, we are not solving a thing, but you're at every stage there. We're there to like tell you, reflect about, which is like reflecting what is in life.
Yeah, but
then because life in itself is like miserable, you know what I'm saying? Like there's so much of pain and suffering, and yes, there are good moments. If you happen to be lucky, you got whatever, like good backing, good money, whatever, all these things. Yeah, it can be comfortable, but there's still that struggle, that loneliness, that I don't know, that misery still finds you in different ways. And then a comedian can reflect what's happening at the time or what everybody's thinking, or his own experiences or her own experience, and then make you laugh. Even for a little bit, you can. It makes this easier. I can. There's some truth to what this guy said or what this lady said on stage, and it's like I can take that with me back home. I can think about it. Yeah, that is true. That's what I want to do.
So I mean, to go back to Louis Black.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, not Louis Black. Louis C.K.
Mm-hmm.
I always mix them up. But Louis C.K., when he addressed the shit that got him canceled, I love the man even more for that, because he brought it down to a humanistic level of like, listen, all of you got some fucking weird shit in your closet.
Yeah.
Difference is you all know mine.
Yeah.
That really makes you think. You're going like, oh yeah, dude, if anybody ever got a hold of my fucking Pornhub algorithm, fuck. You know what I mean? Like everybody has that one thought that goes through their mind of like, if fucking anybody knew about that summer in whatever year,
right,
I'm screwed.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's the difference.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I mean, I don't condone like whatever he did or like whatever happened.
I don't
like,
actually think what he did was that big of a deal. He jerked off on the phone, didn't he?
Yeah, but I think there was also like that other report of the two other comedians came up to the hotel room with him, and then he asked like, can I like take the dick out, and all that, like all those things happen, and then I think there's like, it's a very complex thing. You could argue it like both ways, but I think given like a second chance, and I've like he even talks about it in one of his specials, is like, even if they say it's okay, still don't do it.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? Like I think it's a thing. That's a lesson for, I think, all the rest of us. Like that's the lesson for like, you think when somebody's okay, they're like, because I think women can still, like he says that, like it's like where they can still say that's okay and seem okay, when going through a thing, but you also always have to like still check in with them. Is that, are you really enjoying it? Are you really okay? It's hard. It's one of those things, it's like,
which I completely disagree with.
It's like, it's one of those things where how do you, when a woman says like no, and then they say like no means no.
Well, that's fucking Bill Burr's thing.
You know what I'm saying?
He did it in what was the name of the special?
But
Paper
I also seen
Tiger or something, right?
Yeah, Paper Tiger. But I also seen that. I also seen like women flirt, and then like they say it in a way where there's like, they say no, and then but you can see the smile, or you can see the playfulness in their face, whereas like no, like whatever, and then in that case, like, well, it's not. Is that no really meaning no? I've seen TikToks where like women actually talk about it and saying like, well, in that case, no means yes. But it's such a complicated. We are animals. We are trying to like understand each other.
The complication.
It's so complicated.
Here's what
it's not.
No, I think for me the complication comes in with Louis C.K.'s situation is this.
Yeah.
If it's you, some random guy. Let's see. I'm a random guy. Let's say I'm not married. I go to a club, pick up 2 chicks, go back to my hotel room. Say, can I pull out my dick? They say, great, go for it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Now, when you're Louis C.K., massive comedian who can literally open doors because you produce and you write and you direct and you do all this stuff, and I'm a female comedian, am I saying no the same way the free-willing chicks at the bar are, or am I under a certain level of duress because I know this could make an impact on my career?
Yeah, there is a certain level of duress. Like I mean, I'll be honest. Like it's because like everybody wants to work with you, and he even acknowledged that. Like when the New York Times article, like his response came out, he said like, yes, I did use that. Because when you are in a position of power, when you know that you can get away with a certain thing, like you kind of do it. And it's like that's what I meant when I said like I don't condone what he did.
But see, here's what I think is,
like, it's like he knows he's wrong.
He knows he's wrong in retrospect. But at the time, he is under a certain. I will play devil's advocate here. He is under duress himself because he has been catapulted into stardom, whereas If you look at every other guy that is a Louis C.K. from that neighborhood, nobody gives a shit about them. Nobody knows who the hell they are.
Sure.
The statistical probability that you were supposed to become Louis C.K., even Louis C.K. didn't think. And with that comes this bravado and this ridiculous power that most people don't actually have training to control in a proper way.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's trained to be a celebrity,
Yeah, well, some people are. No, some people have that mentality of, I want to be larger than life, and I'm going to pursue it in every facet of my. But that's a mentality that people have. Right. Whereas you're just a comedian that's been a comedian, and for some reason your shit's just way better than everybody else's. So you just keep getting better and bigger and bigger. Yeah. With that comes, again, he is just as distressed as the person trying to get to the top, because at the top he has no idea what the fuck to do. There is no rule book for it. It's the same thing as like having kids. There's no rule book. There is no guideline. Figure it the fuck out.
Yeah. No, for sure. But it's like at the same time.
So I can't blame him and I can't blame them. And I wish he just didn't get wrangled up into the Me Too bullshit movement, because I think a lot of it also got convoluted in a very bad way. Whereas, look, what Weinstein did, what Cosby did, is nothing compared to what what Louis did is nothing compared to what they did. You understand, like, the severity of what they
I mean,
did?
there are like degrees for sure. I think everybody acknowledges that there are degrees in those things.
And not to say it's bad or good,
but also I still would say like what he did was.
It's wrong. I'm not saying it's right in any way. I'm not trying to justify it.
He shouldn't have done that. But let me also tell you this. It also, I mean, comedy is also like such a subculture where it's like
the outcasts,
the male and female part of it. Like it's very well known that they all hook up at some point. It happens a lot. You know what I'm saying? Comedians date comedians, go out with comedians. It happens in general. Like it's there.
So you're giving behind the scenes shit now.
No. I'm saying like this is behind the scenes shit of like every
comedian.
Like I've been in DC. I've been here. Like I've gotten to see like other scenes, and I've seen like people date each other, go out with each other. Like I'm on social media with people from other scenes.
Bro, you guys aren't exempt in any way. Everybody,
you know what I'm saying?
People that work in an office together. Romances happen all the time. It's the same shit.
But at the same time, I think that was also like like you have like a weird sexual thing or whatever, but it's also I think it was also not okay on his part to like I mean he acknowledged that, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like an overstep of like obviously he's got the comfort of that power, like saying like obviously she's not going to say anything. I can pull out my dick. I'm here. I'm going to jerk off. It's like it's fine. And then she seems friendly. She seems nice. She said, okay, that's fine. It's not going to get out. You have that thing, and nobody saw. I didn't expect the Me Too movement to come out. I didn't expect stuff like that to come out.
Really? You weren't waiting for this to happen?
No.
Oh my God, I've been waiting for it as an inevitability since like 2015, 16.
Really?
Yeah, because
like I never expect but when it did,
do you know why I thought
when that thing happened, and it's like, yeah, sure, like it's similar to what it's similar to this. It's like, yeah, it's your point of view. It's like I have the guy's point of view, right? There is always this social calibration that's happening in society. That's when you go and I don't know, like open with a line or whatever, like you go say hi to a female or to a male, whatever your sexuality is, and you can say a thing, that can work out. You go on a date, multiple dates, and then you could say something else that could upset them, and then that leads to a breakup or whatever. This social calibration is constantly happening at different levels all the time, and people keep finding that out. This has existed for like centuries. It's always happening. This is why breakups happen. This is why people go on few dates and it's like it fizzles out. Like it's like you're always it's so hard to find this perfect frequency and perfect thing where it's like, oh, I got what you meant and I get what you mean. Like, that sort of a thing.
Do you think it's in your control? I've always thought it's been genuinely
there's
outside of control.
No, it's not.
Because how can someone explain to me why we fall in love with the person we fall in love with? Because there is going to be a vast population of people that find that person in no way funny, smart, attractive, a life partner. Only you. Well, what the hell is all that?
No, that's even more complicated. But
you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Like it's, but I'm saying like in terms of, I think like even when women, like he said, like when women say like they are okay, they can seem to be okay and say that they're okay and still not be okay.
Look, I know.
You know what I'm saying?
I understand. Here's the thing that
and then it's like it's something that even I learned from that whole thing. It's like, oh shit, like that can I have no clue of stuff like that. That's
I think our problem in society right now is, and again, my opinion.
Like when she says like I'm fine. There are guys like who will read that same thing as being like, she said she's fine. And then there are guys who'll be like, no, I saw her face be serious and then she said that's fine. And then somebody else will read like a micro expression and be so it's like it's more like emotional intelligence attuning, in terms of like, I can be sensitive to that level and say that no, she said she's fine but she's not, and then there are levels of that, like and sometimes like people misread all the time, like and sometimes you kind of know what you're doing. You kind of know it's like, like maybe when you're at a position of power, we are like, she's not gonna say anything. She's gonna be okay with that, And I'm saying this as a fan of the guy, as a fan of his art and everything.
Oh no, I've cried, laughed at
Louis C.K. And I watched his specials like multiple times, every single one of them, and I was like a huge fan of his thing and everything. But I can also see the reason why he's wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's both those things for me. It's like the conundrum exists in my head.
And again,
that's why I'm like hesitant to even say that but it's the truth. He makes me laugh. Like he makes deeper points. He's like, for me, the next Carlin in terms of making incisive, deeper points about life, reflecting on life, and can make you think and laugh at the same time, equal parts.
Very much so, yeah.
I don't know who he'll be in like 30 years, like if he'll fall out of relevance. Will we look at him the same way now? As a society, we look at Carlin saying like, he's a serious guy, not so
still
funny.
Relevant.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, still relevant. Maybe we'll look at him the same way. Maybe we'll say like, pervert, like whatever. Like he talked about gross stuff. That guy was like overrated. And these things change. Just like how with music, it changes the whole thing. It's like you keep listening to like artists like evolving over a period of time. Some we call like, these are like evergreen, or some we say like, that is shitty music. That's the same thing with art. That same thing with people that happens. I saw a documentary on Woody Allen on HBO. Completely changed my
guy's a freak
view of the guy. I didn't know that guy was all that. You know what I'm saying? But if you watched like, I don't know, Annie Hall, Manhattan, and I watched those things, grew up watching those things, like in college and all that.
He's a genius.
And it's like
but nobody said genius automatically excludes pervert, or excludes eccentric, or excludes crazy, or excludes any one of these labels that if the plumber did it would be fucking weird.
Right.
But for some reason, we don't want to accept that the artistic sect of the world
I don't think we want
weird, bro. Like you have to be.
No, I don't think we. I also don't think like you have to like this whole notion of like people saying like you have to suffer to be an artist. You have to be this psycho to be an artist, and you have to be this mad genius.
But the best are.
You don't have to be.
Name one that isn't. Any genre of art.
I think there are like plenty of people, or maybe like you
all
said,
tormented people.
Yeah, for
every
sure.
last one of them. Look at every artist that has created music or art or literature. Every single one of them is tormented.
But at the same time, like, does that like justify their, you're I mean, you can be tormented, but it's like in terms of your actions, like whatever you did, you know what I'm saying? Is that
how much
like
of it is in your control at that point?
Yeah, I don't know. It's
that's my problem with it. That's the dichotomy of all of this. Is like we want to ingest the beauty of the art that is created, but we do not want to understand that the yin and the yang must exist in harmony. If you have this much creativity, there has to be a similar amount of dark that exists in your life, in your past, that is haunting and killing you. I honestly would love to give you a reference of someone that would go on a Mount Rushmore of anything that is not a tormented soul for various different reasons. I think
I don't know.
Through pain, beauty. So like I've been,
but it's the same as like like I don't know. Think about like Michael Jackson. You know, amazing artist, amazing, great discography and everything. But it's like, but something fucked up happened. Or there's like multiple allegations.
Why are none of us? None of us at any point going like, I wonder what the root would cause a person like Michael Jackson to go down as the king of pop and a pedophile at the same time. And then you're like, oh shit, before he was the king of pop, he was a child star. I wonder if that 8-year-old Michael Jackson is stuck in that adult body forever because of the torture he was put through by his dad.
Sure.
People don't want to fucking recognize that.
No, but there are also consequences as an adult. Like that doesn't justify you.
I'm not justifying the pedophilia. Obviously, it was horrid.
Yeah.
But it was a byproduct of the music everybody fucking loves.
Yeah.
So don't be a hypocrite and listen to his shit and call him a pedophile at the same time. I don't listen to his shit. I gladly call him a pedophile.
Right.
You have to make that distinction.
Yeah. But it's like, my point is like, I think you don't have to be, I don't know, you don't have to take your dick out and jerk off or be a pedophile to make great art. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's my point.
Everybody was weird. Michelangelo was weird. Van Gogh was weird. Fucking Tolstoy was weird.
I mean, Carlin, the most he did was like smoke a little bit of weed.
Fucking weird, bro.
But it's like, you don't, or at least we don't know whatever his weirdness was.
Well, Carlin, the same reason why we don't know about what Red Fox did or Richard Pryor did or George
Not
Carlin
well documented.
Because the pre-internet, exactly, they probably had some fucked up ass perversions, and there may have been a boy, a man, a girl, a woman that satisfied that perversion. But you're talking about the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. Nobody talks about that shit. You think Weinstein started in 2005? No, he's been doing it since the 90s or the 80s.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. It's been gone. But it's like, I think it's perfectly okay for, like whenever it came out and all that exposure, all those things happen. And it's like, yeah, it's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the cycle of things that always keep happening. I didn't see it coming, but it's, I'm also not surprised that something like that happened. Every corruption gets exposed in politics. Things like that keep happening all the time.
Buddy, I promise you, if tomorrow factual evidence came out that said Mother Teresa was also a madam that had fucking whores, I would not be surprised in the least bit.
Right.
Because again, I keep thinking of the world in a very different way.
Right.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you think we are all born good or bad?
I think it's both. It's
think of a baby, inherently a child that is first born. Is it born good or bad?
I think biologically speaking, like I've heard some people are like born like with the amygdala cut off. Like you don't have like an emotional connection. Like some people are like inherently sociopaths or like psychopaths. Just like the
general population.
The general population, I think they're good. In general, I think people are because
this is where we differ.
No, where those things are like biologically intact is where I think, because when you have an emotional response, I feel like you're more likely to be good. But whereas when you don't have that connection, the amygdala connection, and that's where like psychopaths and sociopaths come to be. Those things are like more like nature more than nurture. And then you have the question of nurture as well, like where it's like, some people are like, most people, perfectly normal childhood, born completely normal.
Oh, no, I'm just talking about
Ted
literally
Bundy,
a baby born first breath. Is that baby inherently good or bad?
It's neither. I think it's what, it's like it's what is good and bad at that point, based on consequences, right?
See, that's the thing.
Yeah.
If you think about it
because in terms of like, if it is it like hurting other people, it's not. So you can say it's good, right?
No. Because
how do you then say it's bad?
Well, here's the way I look at it, and again, opinion of the way I see the world is, we are all, every last one of us is born bad.
You think so?
Yes, and it is through the act of nurture. It is through the act of learned.
Why do you say bad?
Because think of it this way: every single thing that you need to go through in your life in order to accomplish something good goes through a struggle. Everything is a struggle.
No, but when you're born, you don't know anything. You don't know good from bad.
Oh, no, you do.
How do you know?
Because
like as a baby, I'm saying.
So here's the first thing that you do when you are born: you cry non-stop. That is never a good thing.
No, it's but basically survival, right?
So survival is not good inherently. It's survival. Good is the opposite of survival, utopia. This is why I say we are
it's not bad also necessarily, you know what I'm saying?
But if you look at it in the terms that I do, where we are all inherently bad, and through our own will we become good and suppress the bad.
Oh, really? I don't think that.
I look at it that way because it makes the perseverance because it makes the perseverance and the ugliness of the world around us much easier to digest. I would venture to say
that's why I'm saying that inherently people are good. Like they want to do good.
See, and I'm saying the justification for doing good almost always has evil at
consequences.
Its foundation.
Yeah.
Not even at its consequences. Its foundation.
I think I agree.
Evil.
I think I agree with your bad person perspective from the point of view of if given that power, you probably wouldn't give it up because of how powerful you feel and what you could get done.
I don't know. For me, if I look at it the world this way, it makes me more humble.
You think so?
Because I look at it as I am no different. I would fall under the same scruples as anybody else if given that power and that type of control.
Yeah.
So how do I mitigate that? And somehow, if by some weird stroke of the world that I become in a position of power one day, how do I do this? Well, if I look at everybody, including myself, as inherently bad and having to work every single day to be good, fighting against what is innately inside of me, that will cause me to always look at every action that I do as trying to be minimized. Again, minimize, never really could get rid of completely hurting in a grand scheme of things. Not maybe an individual, but just something negative that comes out of all the positive you may want to do.
Yeah.
But if you look at it that way, at least for me, it's I would allow myself a ceiling to not go above, to not allow myself to be in such a position that I could harm.
Yeah.
It's okay. You can be a massive comedian. You can be a great podcaster. You can do a million things that are good.
Yeah.
That give you some power and that give you a little bit of influence. But once you start seeking specific levels, you understand inherently that the evil must come with it because nobody operates in that realm outside.
No, for sure. Like I think when you hold like let's say, I mean, take the case of like Joe Rogan, right? You got like millions of people listening to his podcast.
Yes.
Inherently with that, or let's say you're like I don't know, you're like Prince or Dave Chappelle or whoever it is, like somebody who's got the sway of the masses.
Yes.
People will listen, pay attention, and listen to your every single word, and that comes over a period of time. And it's not like one day like you just wake up and you just realize this thing, but it's like over a period of time. 300,000, 600,000, million, 2 million, 4 million, I don't know, 18 million, 80 million.
I think it goes up to like 50 or something, 100 million downloads per episode, some crazy astronomical number.
Yeah, at that point or at some point, you have to know, oh shit, I have influence. Because, for instance, when I shout out this particular product as an ad on my thing, this sales goes up.
Of course.
And they give me the numbers for it, and then they pay me more. So there is consequence for what I say,
Sure.
And so I have to be careful with what I say.
he's like what 2000 something. Right. Joe Rogan as your reference. 2000 something episodes into his podcast.
Yeah.
Each one is usually 3 hours long.
Yeah.
You're talking about 12 to 14,000 hours of this man having conversations with. So far, I don't think I've listened to all 14,000 hours.
No way.
I've listened to whatever I've listened to in the last 3 or 4 years that I've started to listen to Rogan's podcast. But he inherently doesn't do much in the form, if any, evil stuff.
Yeah.
He is a guy that, and I kind of like, I understand. He's like, I don't know, he's like, whatever, dude, I'm just having fun. If this stops being fun, it stops. He's like, I'm not in it for the cash or what any of that shit.
Right.
That's a guy that understands that at a certain level, he doesn't want.
No, but I'm saying he holds influence. He's got to be aware of the fact that he holds.
Of course,
influence.
He does. I mean, you can't not be.
I'm not saying he's right or wrong. I'm saying he knows when he interviews people and when he endorses a certain product or when he says a certain thing, like ivermectin for COVID or like whatever, like Dr. Fauci's bullshit or whatever else. You know what I'm saying? Like all these things. I'm not saying one or the other is true, but I'm saying when you say a thing like that, like you got to know, this is my point of view, and I have an influence over so many people, and not to take away the agency from them, but it's like so many of these are like, I don't know, this kind of young demographic that are impressionable. So many people, go and quote you or like say like, no, even Joe Rogan said that. You know what I'm saying? Or even they discussed that with Lex Friedman in this podcast, or with Andrew Huberman said that, like, or whoever else, like, people quote people all the time. And then they said like, well, if these experts say that, and you think Joe Rogan is an idiot, like, people have this kind of discussion outside. And then they take that as truth. Whether or not that is truth, I don't know. But it's like, and
on the flip side is to take Fauci as truth.
Yeah. It's equally,
you need the varied opinions,
right, for sure.
So I don't know,
and that's I think isn't that like a big problem today?
So our biggest problem in society today is
like you have information overload.
No, it's not that. It's that, I will say this, and I think a lot of people will echo this, where the two sides never actually debate each other on topics without making it personal and without, like, look, you think people are inherently good, I think people are inherently bad, but I don't go like, well, you're a goddamn asshole.
We had a very civil discussion about it.
This is what we needed, and we need this to be in the public discourse, where it should be part of a healthy society, should have these types of debates on a regular basis without attacks to one another's personality, personal life, ideologies, whatever it is. We are talking about the topic of, let's say, ayahuasca. You are a proponent, I am an opponent. Let's speak about these things factually, because Joe Rogan does not have a fiduciary obligation to make things be proper and correct, because the man did not dedicate his life to science. He dedicated his life to various forms of the arts.
Right.
Martial arts.
Sure.
Comedian is an art form.
Sure.
Podcaster and world-renowned interviewer, because fucking everybody listens to this man. There's got to be a reason behind that. These are all in the arts. He is not a theoretical physicist, nor is he a biologist.
100%.
But the problem is, Fauci is a doctor, and Fauci blatantly did lie to this country on multiple occasions. You can't, and that's my bigger problem, is like people are fast to, attack Joe Rogan. Not you, but like the old school legacy media.
But I'm saying, he doesn't have a fiduciary responsibility, but also you have like a moral responsibility in terms of, that people are listening to you. You know
but
what I'm
the
saying?
guy is getting high and drinking on his podcast, he prefaces it by saying, by the fucking way, if you're going to take any of what I just said as doctrine, you're the moron. Because he's like, I'm an ape, bro. Like, I sit here and listen to what people say, and I regurgitate a little bit of information. But like, you need to read and you need to do your own studies.
I'm saying not just him. When you're like a certain comedian like that,
Sure, but like if you
look
have
at influence.
Friedman and Huberman, they are very objective about what they speak about. They are not ones that are formulating shitty opinions or good opinions. They are just trying to state what is the fact because they are scientists.
Sure. But
that's the difference. You know what I mean? Like Eric Weinstein is a scientist.
Yeah.
Huberman's a scientist.
But also when we say scientists and everything, it's like they're also going to. There's also, even within those things of where we say like, oh, there are facts and these are the papers citing it and all these things, like they'll say it that way. There is also a certain even those people have points of view.
Sure.
When they're talking about a thing, you know.
Of course.
And that thing exists, like but even if you say by the way, I'm a moron, like, you know, it's like, yeah, don't listen to me, I'm an idiot, like whatever, all those things.
By the way, I fucking preface that every time. If you listen to me and think that what I am saying is some sort of like smart person's, I'm a dude sitting around hanging out with comedians, bro. Just fucking take that with a grain of salt it comes with. We can talk about deep shit, but
listen
it's fun.
To me. Yeah.
He is an engineer. The man has a master's degree.
Yeah.
I'm a dude with a fucking microphone. Just goddamn it, remember that. So for you, I know we got into like really deep topics about inherent hate and joy and all this stuff. I actually want to kind of like step back and go into a little bit more about your comedy stuff.
Oh yeah.
What made you get up on the stage the first time?
Oh man, I spent like 8 years here in Dallas, and then I got a job in Virginia. I went there, and then I was all by myself.
Were you working for Microsoft?
No, I was working for a telecom company there.
Okay.
And then it was like, I mean, up until then, I was just wasting away every weekend, you know. Like, I don't know, I would go out with friends, like, you know, party it up or whatever, and then, you know, sleep on the weekends and just not do anything, you know.
Okay.
Over there, I think, like, when I went there, like, I had a couple of friends around that area, but it's like, not anybody. And then very soon, like, one of them moved away, the other found his own group or whatever. And I was just by myself, and I was asking, it's like a cliche, like you have to, you know, sometimes lose yourself to like find yourself, that sort of a thing. And I was like, I literally started asking myself, it's like, what do you want to do? Do you just want to like go to a bar, get drunk, or do you want to go to a club, dance, and I don't know what else, what do you want to do? And then for me, the one experience that popped out, like there was like once in Dallas, like I went to this Dallas Comedy House.
Okay, yeah.
Just to go watch like an improv show, or like I think I went and watched like an improv comedy show, or like a open mic or something like that.
We got a good improv scene here.
Yeah, and it's like I had no idea about any of those things. Like just me and two other buddies just walked in. $10 we paid. We walked in, saw this thing, and it was, and like a thing stuck with me. Like I was, my colleagues at work had told me, like, I mean, just the way you talk and you know, like, I don't know, you make us laugh and all that. Like, it's like you have to be a comedian.
Okay.
You know, like you have that cadence, the delivery, and all those things. And
so your buddies kind of like talked you into it.
Well, yeah, it was. I mean, it was in my head, and then I had done a thing in college, like whereas, like I think. The last year of college or something like that, like it was our seniors who were like leaving college, and I had gotten up on stage and just did impressions of like fellow you know, professors, and then people seemed to love it and all that. That was my very first time on stage. I was thinking back on that. I was thinking back on how I was as a kid in school. I was doing all that, and I was like, that's what I want to be, you know. And then I was already, by that time I had watched like Bill Hicks, Carlin, Russell Peters, Louis C.K., all these people. And I was like so much influenced by stand-up that I was like, yeah, I have to give this a shot. I had no clue, no material, no nothing. And I just pretty much just opened Google and just typed out open mic comedy in D.C. And then, you know, a couple of websites popped up. I think one of them I just saw that, went to an open mic, and then I kept going to every open mic. I started finding out which ones are functional open mics, and then started going to every single. For a whole year I just watched. I just went to like nobody does that. Nobody goes to an open mic and just watches comedy for a year, you know. Like I went to like every single one of them and just like was watching. And then these people started seeing me as a regular, and then they're like, why are you not going? Why are you not signing up and going up? And I was like, I can never do what you guys do. Like, you guys are amazing. You know, I was like, you guys are awesome. And they're like, well, that's crazy. Like, just go up, just sign up and go up. And I'm like, no. It's like it's like being thrown into a swimming pool. Like I could never do that, you know.
Right.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't just bring myself to do that at all. And then I kept talking to all these guys, and then one of them told me, like, one of these comics is like, he works at the Arlington Library, and he's doing like a free class, like an intro to stand-up class.
Okay.
And I just went and attended that, like me and like a bunch of like, I don't know, 40, 50-year-olds and old people. They were all like, you know, I don't know, working professionals just came there, attended the thing. And this guy would like show like, his name is Kirby Valadares. I'm still thankful to him. Like, you know.
Shout out Kirby.
Kirby's my start in comedy. He showed us like comedians on Conan.
Oh yeah. Where you got to do like a clean 3 minutes.
Clean 3 minutes, and then he's showing that, and I think I remember like I just went for like maybe a couple of those classes, and immediately got news that my dad was falling sick and all that, and I had to go home, be there for 2 months, came back, was here. There was once, so that class was already done by that time, and then a few months later he said like, I'm starting up another class, but then he said, but this time I'm not just going to like talk about comedy. I'm going to make you do it.
Okay.
And then that was like 2016 March. And then I remember just attending the first class, which is similar to that thing I did in 2015, just watching Conan comics.
Yeah.
And then everybody was like pitching about, oh, I think it's because he said this, that's why. They were all trying to like analyze why it's funny. And I was like, you know, so he said like, well, for the next class, you got to go to this open mic, perform, record yourself, and then bring it to the class, and then we'll all watch it and then review what you did.
Okay.
And
that's an interesting way of teaching.
And that's all I needed. And for me, that was the push that I needed. I come to the next class. I think they were like, the first class was like 15, 14, like 10, 15 people or something. And then almost none of them existed in the second class because it was a free thing. And when you give somebody to like go do a thing and come back, and all these are like, I don't know, working professionals, none of them wanted to do a thing. I wanted that. I wanted somebody to like push me and like, you got to go do this and come back.
By the way, working pro Arun doesn't mean that they're working professional comedians, just like people that have careers outside of their hobby.
Yes.
Which is comedy.
Right. Me and another old guy, we just went to an open mic at George Washington University. This is like right next to a 7-Eleven. It was just like a dance class room. Class gets over. Open mic comedy begins. Most depressing comedy that I've seen. You know, flat, like there's no stage. There's like 4 or 5 chairs, and then you got to stand in front of those chairs with a mic and a PA system, and you're doing comedy.
Yeah, stand-up is never
glorious. I have no idea what open mic is, and that's my first open mic, and I'm like, wow, I'm like, this is amazing, you know, and this is it's horrible actually, but it's like, for me it was amazing. And the older gentleman in my class was recording me with like an old camcorder or whatever, his camera, and I recorded him. And it's like, I think I maybe got like a chuckle for what I said. Like,
do you remember the joke?
I had like 2 bits or something like that, 2 bits or 3 bits or something like that. It was like 4 minutes. They gave 4 minutes.
That's pretty good for an open mic.
Yeah, like two bits or something. And I think the first bit that I said was you know how you know how people come to like Indian people and say like, as soon as they find out that you're Indian, they'll be like, oh bro, I love the Indian chicken tikka masala.
Yeah.
You know, like somehow that is supposed to like relate to me, and you're supposed to like, you know, but instead I was like, but that is bullshit. Like, I'm a vegetarian. I don't even eat chicken tikka masala. But instead, if you came up to me and you just stood by me and just in silence and be like, bro, I don't know how you get laid with that accent. I'd be like, aha, yes, you're talking now. Like, now we can be friends because you said something real.
Yeah,
I think
something makes sense.
That was my first bit.
And you got some laughs?
I got a chuckle.
That's good. Most people are like, nobody laughed. I cried. Yeah. It was horrible.
Yeah. And it's like one comedian chuckled or whatever. And I was like, I don't know. I don't remember what the second bit was. I said some bullshit. And I remember coming out, like, I was so excited. I was like, oh, fuck. I, popped the cherry. Like, I did this thing. And then I remember coming out of that 7-Eleven dance class combined area outside. And I was like, looked at the sky and I was like, yes, I'm now one of them. I'm now one of these people. And then
the painful truth began.
Yes, and then we take that video to the class. Yeah? There were like 4 people or something in that class. The next class, everybody had left.
Down to like nobody.
Yeah, some new person walked in maybe, and then me and that old guy, and then somebody else. And I think we are the only 2 people who had that video. We showed the video, and this guy invited another working comic as is one of his friends, to like review the thing, like to just provide advice. And everybody is just watching my clip with silence, complete silence. In my head, I think, oh, I killed.
Oh yeah,
and they're all watching it and they're like, yeah, man, yeah, that's funny. Yeah, just keep doing it. You gotta keep writing it. Yeah, that's like a funny idea, but try to keep writing, and it's like they were like, we could barely hear you in that thing. Like I couldn't hear you clearly, and I was like, that's so disappointing.
Personal hurt.
Yeah, and then that was it. Like, and then we started like hitting. Like, I mean, there was like a mic in Arlington. There was like a mic in I don't know, in DC. Like, I just kept doing it. There was like an early comic, Pete Buckbauer. Shout out to Pete. Second mic or something. He said like, you're holding the mic so far away. Like, keep it to your chin. Like put it on your chin. That's like the first thing that they say is like, until you get like the right distance hold. Like, there's like, you put it on your chin and keep resting it that way, because otherwise your hand might be shaking because of the nervousness.
Yeah.
And it's like, so put it on your chin. Your hand is not shaking, and the sound is also like audible, and all that. So it's like I learned stuff like that. It's like and as I kept doing it, it's like, yeah, a few chuckles, and then I did the first time I did like a black room open mic, bombed, ate a dick, like it's like, and then it just kept going on and on and on like that.
But
and there's like, I clearly remember doing like a hookah lounge mic, black room, black open mic. I was 2.5 minutes in. This guy comes in, the host comes and snatches the mic out of my hand in Arlington, and then he goes like, talk English, motherfucker, like, and then he's like, get the fuck out of the stage, bro, like, or whatever. Like, it was like, in hindsight, that was like rude, like I've never seen anybody do that. But I was like laughing. I was like, everybody else was laughing, and I laughed it off. I got off stage. I went and apologized to this guy for like bombing, like, who does that? Like, I used to do that a lot. I used to bomb at open mics and immediately go to the host and apologize. Like, I'm so sorry, man. I shouldn't have. I wasted your time. I shouldn't have done that. Like, that's so bad. And they're like, bro, it's just an open mic. What do you care? What are you talking about? And in my head, I'm like, oh, I spoiled this person's show. That's what I used to think.
And for like,
I used to think it's a show. First of all, I used to think it's like, this is horrible. I spoiled this person's time. I did this thing. Why did I do that? And I used to record myself, all that, and I just kept going. And then I went back to that hookah lounge, did well. And I just kept going. Like, somebody noticed me. They gave me my first bar showcase. Did this thing at DC Comedy Loft. It was called DC Comedy Loft back in the day. Now it's different. Every step of the way, I just kept going and going. One of my best friends, he's now moved to India. He said, give yourself, like, be kind to yourself. That's what he said. Like, and give yourself like 10 years and see where you're at the end of 10 years. And if you're not good at that time, then you can quit, But at least give yourself 10 years,
Which was good advice.
And I was like, I don't know where I would have been if I hadn't listened to that. I just foolishly believed those things,
But it was great advice.
Yeah, I foolishly believed those things. A year and a half later, my dad was in his deathbed. I was so excited. I showed him my stand-up. I put earphones into the thing and I was showing him the thing. And this is like 6 months before he passed away. And he saw the thing. He had ALS. He passed away due to ALS, and he couldn't talk at that point. We printed out like a keyboard on a laminated paper, and then he saw my whole set, and then he typed in like KEEP, keep it up, and that meant a whole lot to me. And I just foolishly believed him once again. I was like, he said I should keep going. I should keep going, And I just kept.
It's not foolish, man.
And it's like
your father on his deathbed tells you go. That's hope.
Nah,
that's more hope than anybody could.
No, but I also I think he saw it in my face. Like, this means a lot to this kid. So why spoil his,
Plus, you've accomplished his goal.
And it's
you have a master's degree. You're good.
Yeah. So it's like, I think I just kept going. My mom still doesn't approve of this, but she's like, why are you doing this? When are you going to be a manager? What are you doing? What are you, when are you going to go up in the corporate ladder? Why are you doing this thing? And I get it.
Come on, Mom. He's funny. Please don't make him stop.
But it's I think, and this is a thing that I want to say to somebody who's like starting up new is if I from a different country with a with this thick ass accent, and I stutter and sputter through whatever I say, and I don't have clear thoughts, I don't even have a way to I'm not good at articulating. Sometimes I feel that if I could do that, and if I could keep going, you just have to not stop. You just have to keep going. But you have to also be incredibly honest with yourself. You have to have self-awareness in terms of what you're doing. I think just being hard on myself, I think it's the Asian upbringing and mentality.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, are you good? Nah, you're not good. You're not good enough. That thing kind of also keeps you. I know it's here in this society, it's detrimental. They say be kind to yourself, don't do all that. That thing is also true. It's both those things. You know what I'm saying? You have to be kind to yourself, not give up, keep going, but also be honest in terms of whether a set bombed or not, or even don't even to this day I don't use the words crush or kill or oh bro, I crushed, I destroyed. I don't say those things because immediately I know they'll go to my head and they'll keep me from developing as an artist. The most I'll say is I think I did well in that show. I think I did well. I think that was a good show. I think I did well. And that's it. Just move on, because it's already done. It's already in your past. You're only as good as your last fuck. That sort of a thing. It's you're done with that. Keep moving on, and it's not stopping and being incredibly honest with yourself. That's what will get you through.
I know you say it's an Asian thing, but I've had the opportunity to speak to enough people from various backgrounds, and I've understood one thing, especially comedians. The ones that are self-critical, the ones that are what you just described, are always the ones that catapult to the top. I know the people that I've spoken to, and I know in the back of my head, there's a list that exists that I know those people are going to be not just selling out theaters, they will sell out arenas. I know it for a fact because they say exactly what you said.
Yeah.
I'm not a killer. I'm not a murderer. I'm self-critical. Right. I want to be better. I want to keep working on it. It could have been better. And I think those people, and I've had a few people that are very grandiose about what they think they are as far as their level. And I don't have any opinion on it because I'm not a comedian, but I know other comedians and their opinion of that person. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The ones that everybody that I've talked to that synonymously say are amazing, not the grand list. I'm talking about Dallas people that are really good comedians.
Yeah.
They're always the ones that are like you, that are I could be better.
Yeah.
You have to do better.
Yeah.
And those people, and I'm like, holy shit, I can tell.
And I'm not just saying that just for anything. It's 100% true. You have there's no other way that exists for you to grow.
it could be very easy for me to sit here in my mind and be like, dude, I'm so good as a podcaster. I'm doing great.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's, no, bro, I got like 0 followers in my own head. Even though that number is not 0, in my head, it's 0.
Yeah.
And I will continue to keep that number at 0 until it reaches a number that I cannot ignore.
Yeah.
If it does, ever.
Yeah.
But if I sit there and go like, I'm pretty good at as an interviewer, I think I know exactly how to ask the questions and what. No, then I would never get
100% sure. Like for Joe Rogan had those exact same things. I don't know it, but I can tell, like, because 100% he cared so much about it.
I know he talks about it for sure as far as like his martial arts career.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I thought I could handle myself until I walked into a jiu-jitsu academy and I was like, I was getting fucked up by like these smaller people. And I was like, how is this possible?
Yeah.
He's very humble about like accepting that it took a lot of work to get to where he, and like, if you look at, for fun, I go back and look at like anywhere from episode 1 to like even 500 to 600.
Yeah.
It's a completely different podcast.
Yeah.
Completely different Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
But like, if you're attuned, you can see the inception of this man's brain thinking of like what's going to happen. After the first couple of interesting guests come on,
right,
you're like, oh, this might be something. Unfortunately, I never got it. Like, I wasn't into it 10 years ago. I wish I had. It would have been an interesting ride.
No, it's the same thing as when we were talking about like the evolution of what is a thought.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's like initially, like, it's like, I don't know, like stimuli from like senses. And then, it's like slowly somewhere along the way, your neurons start connecting, and then similarly, and then now it's like you can't even explain. Like, this is a complex thought. Like, an idea is like, forget an idea.
That's what.
Like complex,
so maybe I thought wasn't what I should have said. Idea is what I say. What I should have prefaced it as like, I don't understand where ideas come from.
Yeah.
And there's no answer to it. Think of it this way: as the lens of a comedian.
Yeah.
It's so different from everybody else. You will drive by a fucking billboard that millions of us will drive by.
Yeah.
And then it will become a funny set.
Yeah.
Yeah, how does that idea occur?
I just don't know, because it's like I was always, as a kid, even like observing billboards or like signs or whatever it is. And this is not to say this is something unique. Like, a lot of people still do this. People that create memes do this. People that create people in my regular life, like, who are, there's like a very good friend of mine from college. Great eye for stuff like that. Like, takes pictures, will send it in the group and all that. Very funny guy, inherently very well read and everything. Chooses not to be a comedian. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, I think whatever we observe is available to everybody. But it's also this questioning of like, why is that the way that is? It's the quirkiness of thought. It's like, it's something that is this inherent child that is not yet gone, and that you didn't lose through adulthood. This inherent child is still there, that is still naughty, and is still looking at it and they're like, what is that? It's that looking at everything through that. It's you gotta have that.
See, that's the thing that is so fascinating to me is why do certain people in this world have these abilities, I want to say, to have ideas that no one does have. Comedians are a separate realm. Scientists, theologians, all of these sects of the world that exist.
Yeah.
All of these people that most of us from the outside looking in don't understand it.
Yeah.
They do. And I'm like, okay, where do these ideas come from? Why did I have this thought and this idea to start a podcast? I can't explain it in any way, but there's this like yearning for it. Something that was gnawing away at me of, I really want to talk to people.
Yeah.
You want to get on the stage.
Yeah. I think
I wish I knew where it came from.
I don't know. It's like the one thing I can pinpoint to in my childhood was like, it was a very tense household.
Was it?
All the time.
What was what made the tension?
It's always like, my parents would like fight all the time. There's always like some sort of an eruption that's going to happen. And I'm saying this because I'm pretty sure my mom's not going to listen to this. My dad's gone. And I don't think anybody in my life, my relatives, are going to listen to this.
Never know.
You never know.
If that one clip goes viral and everybody in India is listening,
nobody cares. It's like I clearly remember the sound of my dad's scooter coming in. Like, we didn't have a car or anything. My dad's scooter coming in, like, I hear that, and I was like, oh shit, like, he's coming in. Like, I'll switch off the TV, go to your bedroom. My brother would go to his, and then we'd just wait in there, and then he would walk in, and like, whatever, like, all that. He'd get ready, and I mean, he'd freshen up and all that, and then something or the other would start.
Okay.
Something, they would have like some verbal altercation. Like, I'm not saying like he's the bad guy. Like, I'm not saying my mom's a bad person, but like, somehow there was this tension all the time. There was this fight about something, or like he wouldn't have a bad day at work, or all these things. And I always remember, like how Bill Burr talks about like how he grew up, like in that kind of an household.
His dad was kind of
FS
like
for family sort of a thing. And it's like, and I remember visibly being like upset all the time. Like, I was like so emaciated, so not, and it's just that environment like made me feel. And I love my parents. I love my mom, dad, my brother, all of that. And it's but it's still, sometimes like the combination of certain people wouldn't work. And I clearly remember I even like innocently asked like once, it's like, why is there no humor in this house? How come we don't have a sense of humor in this household? You'd go out into the world, you be in your school, come back. Because in school I was somebody. I was doing impressions of the teachers around me, the principal, and other kids would laugh. But when I came home, I was just nobody. I was like just in this tense thing, and then I would keep thinking, it's like, why is there? How can I make this like? Why is there no funny here? And it's like, I think there was that inherent yearning for that. That's what I can think of. And I was that kid there, and I felt like I was like living like double lives almost. This very serious person here, and then this person there, managing all those things. And it's like, I think I never lost that part of that childhood where it's this kid who's somebody in front of people, who's sorry, excuse me, who's trying to be somebody and make them laugh. And I think I never lost that. I never knew the name for that. I never knew what that was. And that stayed in my head. And then, years later, I would realize it's like, oh, that's what that is. Like, that's what I need to be up on stage. That's what. And now I can clearly see that when I'm on stage or whatever, like, I'm clearly not up to my full potential. But it's like, it just feels like, I'm just this entertainer. I'm just this guy, this goofy guy who's just, doing that. I think you saw me at the Dallas Comedy Club, the Brownout show.
I did.
Like,
I
have no. You can ask Sri. Like, I was there behind the curtain, like just standing next to him, and I was like super nervous about going up because I was thinking like, it's like, fuck, man, none of my material is gonna work. And I just told him like, what should I do? Like, what should I do? And he's like, just go talk to the crowd. He said, like, just warm them up a little bit. Like, you don't have to do all material, just warm them up a little bit and then go into the material maybe. And I was like, what am I gonna say to these people? They all seem dead because I can hear the sound. And I'm like, what am I, they're not gonna be interested in my material because like I'm, like about whatever I'm gonna say. Like, they're not laughing. They're not a collective right now,
Yeah, but I remember crying laughing because you called me an Indian fucking uncle in the back of the crowd. That was the funniest goddamn thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
Sorry.
No, please do not apologize. I was crying laughing when I heard that shit.
I had no recollection of you, and I was like, I still kept thinking when you hit me up like later on, I was like, where was this guy? Like, I didn't see him.
I was all the way in the back.
You're like,
just token Indian uncle all the way in the back with his hat or something. I was like, oh my god, this is the funniest shit in the world.
I remember saying that because like I did see somebody like that, and I was like, I'll let some Indian uncle over there. And it's like, I just wanted to. All I had was, I'm gonna go there, just warm them up, and then maybe like, basically like tickle them, and then go into my material, right? And then it just ended up being completely just doing that, which most of us, like, we despise just like completely doing crowd work. Like, we don't just doing crowd work and not having any material is kind of like a look down upon thing.
Yeah, but it's different when you actually get up on the damn stage and like 2 minutes into it, you're like, listen, bro, I got fucking nothing today. I'm just going to hang out with you guys.
Yeah.
If you're in on it, we're good together. Yeah. And that is fine because the crowd goes, cool, let's do this.
And I just did that only because like I thought like, okay, these guys are not warmed up. These guys are not there yet. They need to feel as a collective. So what best I can do as a collective to make them feel as a collective is to talk to every one of them and make them feel seen, like I see you. Basically, that's what I'm doing. Like, it's like I am roasting these people, or like I'm saying something is like, or whatever about each of these people. Fist bumped one guy, said something about something, somebody in the front row, somebody there. Somebody was like speed dating. They had come off. Like
I remember they were to the left of me. They had come off the speed dating shit.
I don't remember all of it, but it's like, they had come off like a speed dating thing. I called them losers or something. I don't know, whatever. Like, it's
I remember what you said.
It was all in fun.
It was so good. You were like, I couldn't imagine something to the effect of like doing speed dating and then coming into an all brown comedy show. Like, you made it a lot fucking funnier than what I just said, but like the way you went,
I don't remember what I said.
And then you literally went into like, what a fucking group of losers. Like, could you not get anybody? Like, and it was great because we were all sitting there going like, how do you fucking speed date and not come out with a date?
Yeah.
Isn't there like 30 versus 30 and you just keep doing this?
Yeah.
So like you brought a good amount of like funny to it because we all connected with those ladies and we all had a good laugh on it, and I'm sure all the brown people in the audience had a really funny laugh about the uncle in the back because they imagined theirs. So for me, I really appreciate it.
I'm sorry that I called you.
Please don't be
because like
it was so funny, and I
clearly couldn't see who was
obviously
there.
I was all the way in the
back. And I still, even when you reached out to me over Instagram, I was like, where was this guy in that show? Like, where was this guy? I never saw this guy.
Bro, it was to the point where I posted the picture, and then Sri wrote me on Instagram. He's like, bro, were you there? I was like, yeah, bro, I was holding in the back. Like, holy shit, I didn't even see you. I was like, sorry. The reason I do that is I have a pen and pad with me.
Okay.
The whole point of this podcast is I see you live. If I like you, I invite you to the podcast.
Yeah.
And part of it is like I keep a pen and pad with me so I can get name and last name of the artist.
That is usually not my act. I just wanted you to know that that's usually not my... Yeah.
Many people have recommended you for this podcast.
Oh my God.
And many people have said, you need to see this guy live.
Oh.
And so I was so happy to see you live. And it was even funnier that you didn't have any material because I was like, okay, if he doesn't have anything prepared and he gets through this set and everybody's laughing at the end of it and he really does get the next comic to do... Because, like, you matter way more for the next comic than people understand. Like, you get that crowd really hyped up, and they can ride that flow into funny. But if the person before you sucks, you got to work even harder to get the crowd back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, when you ended it, and I was like, holy shit, this guy's hilarious. Yeah. And he didn't have...
I had, like, 7 minutes, and I was like... I think somewhere along the way, I just made the mental note. It's like, no, just fuck the material. Just talk to them. Because this is way more fun. Like, I can't even explain the thought process because, like, coming back to that whole thought process thing, it's like the amount of computations that happen in your brain and the split-second decisions that you make, and it could go either way, and you develop these instincts over a period of time. Like, it's like, what's the right way to go?
Yeah,
what's the right path to go?
Pivot.
Yeah, like a river, like, right? Like, I could go either way. Like, it's like what's the right path to go?
Yeah, what's the pivot you take to make
you have to take that current in the way that your instinct leads you to. And it's like, I think in the initially when you're trying to do that thing, it's like, and it could still go wrong, but it's like you kind of like learn to recognize your own instincts. It's like, say this. Like, it's like, and it's like, it's your brain telling you this, like, go there, say this. Like, oh, don't say that, don't say that. And it's like, you're trying to maintain this sort of like, let me see how far I can go and then come back. And then let me see how far I can go and then come back. Because it's like, you're trying to walk that edge. Sometimes there's like, I've said like all sorts of things. But it's not, I mean, of course you cannot say something like racist or like whatever,
all within the bounds of still
the bounds
being funny
of like
without really offending anyone.
Right. But it's like it's teetering on that edge when you do that kind of like a crowd work.
But don't you find where the funny is, where you're teetering on that edge, where the actual the bleeding edge of like if
I think that's the most exciting. That's what I want to make a distinction between like there's a lot of young comics wanting to go there immediately and then trying to be edgy, and it's like, don't seek that out first and foremost.
I look at crowd work for young comedians as a crutch more than it is.
No, you shouldn't be doing that at all.
Yeah, you should have the skill set, to say the hello to the crowd. You really see something that needs to be pointed out, you point it out. But like, if you're a young comic, that's a crutch, because your material is what you're supposed to be working on over and over again. Until you figure out, like you said, how far over have I gone, and do I need to dial it back?
But I only do it with the knowledge that it's like, I can fall back on my material.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I have all these things that I have it in my back pocket, and I can throw it. But then I can fall back on that material anytime this is not going well. I know where to go into that. But that comes from experience, and that doesn't come from doing crowd work in first year of comedy or second year or whatever. You have to first 3 years at least you gotta, it's all about being comfortable on stage. Make your mistakes, you'll stutter and sputter through your thing, you'll forget material, you don't know what's the next bit, your mic is far away from the thing, the crowd is not feeling it, you're sweating at your back, you don't know what to do, all those things. You have to go through everything, and then that's when you figure out, okay, this is the material that works, this is the thing that works, okay, I gotta cut it down, this is more efficient. And then the more you get good at that, that's how you get good at stand-up. And crowd work and all those things come much later. Like there's a experienced comic in the scene, Raj Sharma. He told me,
he's been on my podcast. I love Raj.
Raj was the guy.
Shout out Raj, dude.
Shout out Raj. Raj's the best. Raj, Paul Varghese and Raj.
I haven't had the chance to see Paul live.
Both of those are like the stalwarts, or like I want to say like the like, at least as an Indian comic I can say, like they are like the two pillars of comedy here.
I'm telling you, I talk about that Jesus joke that Raj did all the time.
I mean, both are like equally talented and like very distinct, talented comedians in their own right. And like that's, as an Indian comic, if you're coming into the scene, you're always going to be compared to them, and you're always going to be. It's a high standard. I'm just saying that. Like I have no, qualms saying that, but it's like it's Raj Sharma that told me, like, he said, don't go into crowd work right away. Like year 3 or 4, he said, like, that's when he said, like, now it's about, try some crowd work. Like, like try some going into that. And I shout out to Backdoor Comedy, which is in Richardson. It's a very clean comedy club.
A few comics have talked about cutting their teeth at Backdoor.
And I 100% attribute everything, like like whatever clean comedy, whatever I've developed is all from there. And Linda Stockner and Jan Norton who run that, they've been so kind to like give me opportunities over the years. Had to work really hard to like get into the weekend slots, and it's clean. You got to do your best clean and everything, but over the last couple of years or something, like I've been kind of dipping my toe into crowd work. Sometimes I'll just do it, not all the time, but like sometimes, like if the crowd is like very brand, they're kind of like weak, or like they are, it's like you're one of the first comics to go up, they're not,
No, I feel you. I get exactly.
You can talk to them and all those things, and it's like it's always like jumping into a pool without knowing how to swim, and I always go with, all I know is I'm just going to talk to them, and I have to trust my instincts. That's all I know. And I have nothing else prepared. I have no standards questions. I don't seek it. For the most part, I don't even seek out crowd work. Actually, I don't even I don't seek it out at all. What you saw that day was like an exception to something that happens. Like I'm very reactive kind of guy. I'm not proactively seeking crowd work kind of guy. So
I mean, you could have fooled me. You did a wonderful job of getting that crowd back into the comedy show.
I'm not crowd work comic at all. Like 100%, I'm a material comic. I'm not crowd work. But I'm like, it's just over a period of time that I've fallen, like where it's like, oh, if they are not, I can kind of like, that's why you pay attention to the show all the time. You have to always like watch the previous comic before you at least, and see how the show is going. It's not a reflection on them, but sometimes the crowd is like, they're all spaced apart. Crowd dynamic is like a weird thing, like it's the same thing when we are at a movie theater. We all laugh together, or we all seek a thing together when everybody's like closer together. Have you seen that?
So it's called groupthink, and it's an actual. It's not a phenomenon; it's a proven thing where if you get people together, they harmonize.
Yeah, if they're spread apart, you don't see those reactions as much
because the connection doesn't happen on a conscious level. It's more of a subconscious connection that we all have together. So
there's some physicality.
Proximity is very, very important.
Yeah,
like there's this famous YouTube video where this guy is just in a park and there's like a bunch of people picnicking, and he starts singing a very famous song, and within like a few seconds, everybody in harmony and unison begins to sing the same song together, and everybody knows the words. And the same thing happens at a movie theater, but more so happens at live events. Like a comedy club is meant to be this very intimate experience.
Yeah.
And if you're spread apart, like you said, I've been to enough shows that like I can tell when I walk in if it's going to be a good show or not based on the amount of people that are there and how much like I don't know how to explain it. It's like the level of talking always explains to me how good of a show I'm going to be. If they're talking really loud when I get into a comedy show before it's begun, it's not going to be a good show.
No.
But if people are like very like low toned, very excited, kind of like murmuring into each other's ear, you're like, these people are ready to laugh.
Yeah. 100%.
Because the mindset is like, if I stay quiet, everybody will stay quiet. We'll give attention to where it needs to be, the stage. But if everybody's talking, you're just like, come on.
Yeah, it's like...
and there's truth to this, in my opinion. 100%. I think I've seen it because I've gone to enough comedy clubs just to like, write down notes to invite comedians that I'm like, I can actually see this happening.
Yeah.
And that night was no exception. People weren't as close together as I would have liked.
I saw that. As soon as I went in there, I saw that. Like, and I already saw how the crowd was laid out and everything before when somebody else was on stage. I came through the back door. And then I as soon as I went there, that's why the first thing I did was like, there was this Indian guy there. I went and like, where are you from? Fist bump. Tried to like connect with all of them.
It almost looked like a prison yard, bro. Like all the races were kind of separated for some reason. I swear, it always like there was a white people to the left, a few black people in the back trickled, and there's like a bunch of Indians. I was like, why are they so segregated for no reason?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It should never. The seating should never be that way. Like it should always be. And people. That's the problem. Because like when a show is not sold out, and typically this is at any comedy club. Like people say like, it's you can sit wherever. And people almost always at a comedy club, especially like they're like, oh, the comedian is going to talk to me, so let me sit at the back. You know? Or whatever, like spaced apart, But what makes a show is the cohesiveness. It's there's almost like a science to it. There's no magic at this point, I would say. It's more like the ceiling has to be low, the temperature has to be a little bit cold, and people have to be close. It's almost like sex. Like all those things are similar, That's when that thing happens. Comedy is like sex, It's those things happen when the right conditions are met.
I completely agree with you.
Because there's this tension, there's this perceived this anticipation, and you can only feel that and experience that when you're together. It's when you're like spread apart, I can immediately tell it's like, this is not conducive at all.
It's not it.
Or if the temperature is like too warm, or you can hear like outside noises, or if the ceiling is too high, and I'm like, this is immediately like sound dissipates, or if the room is too long,
It's not dark enough.
It's not dark enough. Like all that, like once again, the analogy to sex, it's like, it's funny, but it's true,
Because the best comedy clubs, I can't really tell out the faces next to me, which means everybody looks alike.
Yeah.
Everybody's the same. So if he's laughing or she's laughing, I can laugh.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Like it kind of like
it universalizes the experience.
Like a portrait picture where it makes the background blurry.
Yeah.
That's the way I want my comedy club to feel like. I only want the focus and attention to be
on that
person on the stage. I don't care about the really hot chick to the left or the muscled out roided dude to the left.
Right.
I don't care about any of that shit. I don't want to see it.
Right. And it's like I also don't want to, like, the lighting should be, as a performer, only enough to like just see the first couple of rows. You shouldn't have to like see beyond that. It's like, and given all those things, like, you shouldn't have to like do crowd work. You know what I'm saying?
I get it, yeah.
It's they are already, if all these conditions are right, I guarantee you that it's you can talk about yourself, material and everything. All those things should work. And yes, like, like if they're still not feeling it for some reason, if they're like whatever, sure, you can address like what's the common thing that's happening right now.
Right.
Is it the parking? Is it the heat outside? Is it whatever? Like you got to address in some sort of way. You got to address like what's the commonality that they're all experiencing, just so that they know that you're real. It's just for a small intro part of time that they know that you're real. And you can go into material after that. Like once you made them laugh, once you got on that laugh within the first few seconds, and it's like, this guy, yeah, I can trust this guy. It's like a date if you think about it. It's not, no chick is gonna like, if you go up there and it's like you have all this distance.
No,
you don't make eye contact. You're like looking at somewhere and you're talking, or you're not even addressing that person. Or I don't know.
No, I like to what you're saying.
It's the same thing.
I feel
all
like,
those things.
Yeah, I feel like, so if you're going on a date, think of it like
I always look at it as a date with the audience.
The guy on the stage is the guy, and the woman is the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And the woman has a checklist of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the way your set is ordered is going to be the difference between a really good set, like you said, the first few seconds, getting that first laugh in. Yeah. Because what you are doing, exactly like a first date, is how do I gain trust?
Yeah.
And then add upon that.
Yeah.
Because at a certain point, if I got enough trust on a first date, I can ask different questions. The same translates to a comedian. If I've got enough trust with my crowd, I can keep pushing it and go into, you know that part of your set where you're like, if it's properly set up for the first 10 minutes with the other material, they'll be okay with this crazy shit here.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? If I start with crazy 100%. In the wrong place,
no,
it's never gonna. No, because I've seen comedians here.
You cannot open with it's like
incest should not be your opening joke in Dallas.
Like I cannot open with like, so my dad died. Like I cannot open if I had told you that like at the beginning, you would have been like, what the fuck? What? This guy is such a bummer.
Yeah.
Like it's like what is he saying?
But like 7 minutes into you making fun of yourself about shit that everybody can relate to, like receding hairline or whatever, and like you find that really funny, unique way to connect.
Yeah.
10 minutes in, when you talk about your dead dad and there's a funny in it, that's okay.
Because that's when I need I need that bandwidth for them to like listen, because there's going to be periods of silence during the setup, or like when I'm trying to make the point.
Yeah.
Like that, it's going to be a little uncomfortable because you're listening to like death or like whatever, like, the details of it. But right at the beginning, I cannot say that. You know what I'm saying? That's third date material. My intro is like first date. Like what I'm saying, like, boys, isn't it hot outside? Like, isn't it, this is like some third world heat, huh? Like whatever I say. And then you're like, it's like, oh yeah. Like, and I was just in India, like, like this is crazy. It's the same thing I experienced. We're trying to relate, right?
Right.
And it's like, it's all first date. And then I said, like, yes. And this is like, tell me something about yourself. That's what I'm telling you. That's my first, it's all part of first date. Like this is how I sound like. This is my appearance. People, like you'll always see like fat comics make fun of their appearance. They say like, I look like it's a very common intro. Like I look like blah, blah, blah. I look like
a
blah,
beached
blah.
whale. I look like
Whatever.
yeah, whatever
Right.
the
like
fat
I
insert
sound
here.
like a thing. Like, or my eyes are this, but my body says this. My face is this, or my body. Whatever. There are 1,000 different intros. It's all self-deprecating, putting them at ease, saying like, hey, I'm equally as human as you. And then you talk about whatever is happening in their world. It's like just saying like, hey, just know that I'm real. It's all first date. Second date is now more about you. You're now saying like, it's like, oh, this is my experience, this is my thing, whatever. And then third date is your more deeper personal stuff. Or it could be an opinion about society. It could be a thing in your personal life, something dark like your dad died, whatever ex, etc., etc., or I had a divorce, whatever else. And it's like, but I cannot open with that.
No, obviously not. And the same way where whatever your closing joke is, if you take it to the evolution of dating, it's the shit that you're like the
it's all sex if you think about it. It's like
for me, it's like your big final joke with the crowd is the same thing as like the kinky shit you wait until 10 years of marriage to tell your significant other. You're like, hey, by the way, I wouldn't mind if you waxed me. I get off on that shit. Or whatever that weird perversion is. But like you have to go through all of the stages.
But they'll listen to that only if they listen to all of this first.
Yeah, exactly. And at the end of it, they will fucking cry laughing. Right. Or they'll divorce your ass if you did it wrong. You have two choices.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I mean, it could go. That's always a chance that you're taking with comedy. That's how you grow. That's how it's like, and it's always not going to be like sometimes, and you realize it's like, oh, I'm not. It's like you said, it's like, oh, I'm not for this chick. I'm not, we are not compatible. Same way, sometimes you realize it's like, oh, this audience is not for me. And then there exists an audience for you. And also for the most part, thinking like, it's like, thinking like I should be able to get along with every audience is also wrong. You know what I'm saying?
But if you only have one audience, you're doing it wrong.
But if you're a good comic, here's the thing. It's very similar to dating and everything. It's like if you have a good personality, whatever, right?
Right.
You're for the most part gonna have to like connect with most of the women in the case of a straight guy, but or whatever, like in the case of a
whatever your partner is,
whatever your
defined by you is what you're gonna seek out.
You're for the most part you're gonna at least connect up to a certain level.
Yes, of course.
And that's the way I look at comedy. Like it's, as a good comedian, if I can connect to like, I don't know, 70% of the audience, then you're like, you're doing something right. But thinking that I should get every audience 100%, that is you need therapy.
That's ridiculous.
You need therapy at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like I've suffered through that, because it's like that's like thinking like every woman should like me.
No,
it's never going to be that way.
I think that
even if you're perfectly fine with everything that you said, and you're gentlemanly and you're funny and you're flirty and you have the right amount of balance, you did all the dating etiquettes right.
Mm-hmm.
Still, there's going to be somebody who's like, I don't know. I can't tell what it is, but it's like, I don't.
But think of it. I would think of it this way.
And it's the same way for like sometimes the audience is like that.
But I think the audience is very much so like that, and I think.
But there's a trap where you can easily fall into this, where it's like you can be like a self-absorbed guy and thinking like, yo, fuck you. You know what? Every woman likes me. And you don't like me, so fuck you. Like, you can be that guy, or you can be like, well, that's okay. Like, not every woman likes me, and that's fine.
And to that, that version of a person would also probably follow up with saying, not everybody likes me.
Yeah.
But if I can grow my base to be more diverse, then I can capture more people.
Sure.
A smart and sane individual understands that there's no possibility that, don't take the world, let's just take the United States. Right. There's no way you're going to get everybody to like you.
No.
And if you did, you're doing something completely wrong.
Yeah. And trust me, like I was initially like, for a long time I was in the trap. I'd still sulk, like I was like, oh man, they hated me. Like I should quit comedy. Like, you fall into that. But that, like nowadays, like I've found a way to like catch that pattern of thought and be like, what are you doing? Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. You are self-sabotaging, Don't do that. Not everybody is for you, but if that happens all the time, yes, you should be looking into it's like, oh, what am I doing wrong? It's like maybe I'm my energy is off, because it's such a performative art.
Very
and it's
much
like
so, yeah.
and it's like oh, I'm not giving it my full thing. Like maybe they're not feeling it. I'm not being sincere. Maybe I don't come across, or whatever it is. Like it's not punchy enough. There's too much of setup, too much of a gap, too much of lull, too much of stuttering, stammering, whatever. So many things can go wrong. So that's why I always say, like, the best comedian, or like the very good comedian, is not necessarily the funniest guy, or the funniest comedian, but it's somebody who's got the most self-awareness. Somebody who's very self-aware will be good in dating. Somebody who's more self-aware will be good in comedy. He or she. I'm saying that's how. And you have to have this reflective nature to be like, honest reflective nature, to be like, how did I do that? Like, was I good? Was I just no? That was just okay. That was just, be honest to yourself. You don't have to say anything to anybody else, but you have to be deeply honest with yourself, and that also comes from a deeper value of what you consider the best.
I couldn't agree with that more, my friend. Yeah, I think that's
sorry to be more pontificating, but it's
no. I think that's a wonderful point that more people should hear.
I say that because I care so much about it, and I watch all these guys. Like, it's like I still listen to. I recently listened to Stephen Wright.
He's so
good. His first album, and I'm still in awe of like how's that? I can never do what he did.
He did one of the most difficult versions of comedy for me.
Yeah.
This is why he's on that. Because he's.
I mean, it's so jarring that you put both extremes of those
each other
to next to each other.
If you look at all four of them, they are all extremes of each other.
Yeah.
Because you've got Stephen Wright, the king of one-liners.
Yeah.
George Carlin, who I would say A, my favorite comedian, but B, like a really prolific thinker who translated that into comedy.
Yeah.
He made all of us think a lot more through his comedy.
Yeah.
Robin Williams, because I mean, his ability and how multifaceted he was in the comedy world. He wasn't just a good stand-up comedian. He wasn't just SNL royalty. He wasn't just a great actor comedically. He was this culmination of a one of a kind that I genuinely don't think will ever exist again.
Yeah.
And then you go to Eddie Izzard, who was one of the first openly cross-dressing, drag queen, trans, whatever label.
Broke that ceiling.
And did that on the stage multiple occasions and was just so goddamn funny.
Yeah.
Regardless of what he was wearing or what. And I was just like, oh, that takes it takes a much higher level of bravery and self-confidence to be like, I'm not just going to talk about it. I'm actually going to show you for multiple hours and everybody's going to love me.
Yeah.
I know he didn't think that at the time, but like he went through that stage and we all loved him.
Yeah.
He's still one of my favorite comedians. Like he exists there for a reason.
Yeah.
So, and none of them had the same style in any shape or form.
Yeah.
That's why I love him so much. Because they innovated the art.
I'll be honest, like I've not watched much of Eddie Izzard.
Dress to Kill is one of my favorite
I've been told a lot to like watch stuff.
He's actually doing a tour now.
Yeah.
He's going to be coming through the States too, or he is at the States. He's doing like a world tour of like a remix of all of his old stuff, so it's really cool.
I love that, man.
He has been a person that I respect because I'm like, you are you forever.
Yeah.
You didn't wait for it to be some sort of fashionable bullshit. You're like, this is who I am. Take it. And that's why he exists up there.
Yeah.
But Stephen Wright, I mean, like, his form of comedy is so difficult. It's all one lines that don't have any connection to each other. And it's a zillion jokes,
just like Mitch Hedberg. Like he's like, but he's also not Mitch Hedberg. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
I would never recommend. I would never compare the two to
they're definitely in the same basket, but he's so different still. Like he's got this deadpan delivery, like where he says like and he's very deeply personal. If you think about, like, he talks about stuff from his childhood and stuff like that. And of course, a lot of those things are like twisted, exaggerated, and all that. And makes you always wonder, like, what was this kid? What was this kid?
An enigma. I still think of Stephen Wright as an enigma.
Yeah.
And
it's like, I've never heard anybody like this guy.
Yeah, I don't understand. One of my favorite jokes he's ever done, he's like, I came home drunk one day and I put in my car keys into my house. So I drove it around the block a couple of times.
It's
bizarre. Like, who the fuck thinks of that?
Yeah.
It's bizarre and it's so funny
Absurdist
too.
comedy, yeah.
Like, how is that? It's a 20-plus-year-old one-liner that's still in my head. I can't get it out.
Yeah.
That's what cements a person like that. It's like everybody, you can't talk to anyone that appreciates comedy without knowing who Stephen Wright is.
No.
Like,
no. Stephen Wright is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I listened to that album from like, I don't know, from the 80s or something. That was the first time he did
the first one he did?
First one?
Maybe late 70s,
and it's
early
like,
80s, yeah.
And it's still, I'm not exaggerating, but I forget the name of the album because I've listened to it a bunch of times. I don't remember the album. But it's, I was laughing visibly. Like, I always listen to comedy like when I'm driving. And I'm like, I was laughing out loud. And that rarely happens because like as a comic, you're like constantly like listening to comedy, like, and you're trained to that, and you're like
desensitized completely.
It's kind of desensitized, like. But I try my best to. I'm not one of those guys who's like I'm serious, like, it's like that sort of. I'll still laugh out loud, like I'll easily laugh out loud, because I enjoy it. Like I've more than being a comedian, I enjoy comedy. Like I'm a fan. I'm a fan first, more than that. And it's like, man, I laughed out loud for his stuff, and it's like he's amazing.
And so,
flawless delivery.
And not just to speak about Steven and the other three, but to talk about Louis Black and Eddie Murphy, like Delirious and Raw.
Oh my God!
I still find it like I will go back to it and rewatch it and still die laughing.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things,
like
man.
Eddie Murphy's like. If you listen to that thing where he talks about Bill Cosby,
which one?
Where he says something like, I think it was Hannibal Buress or somebody talks to.
Shout out to Hannibal, really funny comedian.
Hannibal in his own right. He talks to Eddie Murphy about like, I think it's him, or like I'm misquoting somebody. Like they talk to Eddie Murphy about. And then Eddie Murphy's he just like completely like dismisses Cosby. I mean, Cosby's funny in his own right, but it's like he dismisses that. Like, he's one of the earliest guys to like make fun of Cosby.
Really? Okay.
I mean, I'm saying that
after the scandal or before?
No, this is like way before. Like, and
I remember
it's like he's one of those guys who was not afraid. Like back then when Michael Jackson, Cosby, all those people were there.
Didn't he fucking do it on Raw or Delirious?
Yeah,
where he
one
talks
of those
about
things,
talking. I distinctly remember something about him calling Richard Pryor saying Cosby said that. We'll tell him to have a Coke and have a nice day or something.
Yes.
Go fuck himself and have a Coke or some shit.
Okay.
Yes,
he quotes the story of. Sorry, I butchered the story.
It's Delirious, I think.
It's Delirious or something, where he talks about him talking to Pryor about Cosby
and his profanity on the stage, and Cosby's like, you use the bad words, and, and he goes into the
Jello
pudding shit,
and then Pryor says like, "Fuck that N-word" about Cosby.
Tell him to have a Coke and a nice, or have some Jello pudding or some shit like that.
Something like that.
It's the most because it's really funny because he does Cosby's voice, he does his own voice, and he does Pryor's voice.
Yes,
all within like this just. Fluid thing, and you're
for me as a kid that did impressions, that is like I love watching stuff like that.
And as a kid that was infatuated by the idea of being able to do an impression, I was like, how are you doing this? How do you impersonate someone so well? Have you seen Jamie Foxx when he does the impersonation of Dave Chappelle?
Yes.
After that attack, oh my god.
Yes.
If you don't have the video and you just have audio, you think Chappelle's just speaking, and you're like, "What the fuck is going on right now?"
Yeah.
He does a really good thing. Trump too. Good. Jamie Foxx.
No, Jamie Foxx is like, I've seen that video too.
That guy's a living legend.
A living legend. Like it's like I think that guy has he done stand up? Like I think he's got like roots in stand up as well.
I think Jamie Foxx has done stand up comedy.
Yeah.
But then Jamie Foxx was recognized very early on as just such an
I mean, such a talented,
all-encompassing talented entertainer. He can sing, he can dance,
100.
he can act. Like fucking Ray. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's one of the most beautiful performances ever.
Yeah.
And he is just this multi-talented, multifaceted person. So the stand-up stage wouldn't do him justice.
I recently saw the Jamie Foxx Trump impression.
Oh yeah,
it came up on my the search page on my Instagram. Bro, I died laughing, dude. Like it's so funny, so funny.
It's his and Shane Gillis's Trump impression.
Oh, you like Shane Gillis's Trump?
I love Shane's.
Did you watch Shane's the YouTube special?
The special, I saw his special. Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah.
How he went in.
So good.
His thing about the heroin addict or the crystal meth addict sister and going on quests and shit.
Yeah.
It makes me laugh every time. But no, Shane Gillis is really, really good at the Trump impression because it's more of like a visual thing that he goes into like this whole character, and I love it.
I like how each impression is like they attack like different facets of a character.
Yes.
Like, it's like when some people go for like the visual thing, some people go for like the voice, some people go for like the mannerisms. It's like a different thing, and it's like your brain actually captures everything about a person when you look and talk to a person, and it's like that's fascinating. It's always fascinated me as a person who did that.
And I also look at it as to President Trump. Not that you'll ever hear this.
No.
I would take it as a personal compliment.
Yeah.
To be of that stature, to have so many people
doing
to
that.
put work into imitating you in a comedic manner. I'd look at that as the ultimate compliment in some forms.
There was an Indian actor who once he was. I mean, there's so many of these Indian actors who are like good at like impressions. One of them, from my hometown, he said something like, you have to fall in love with that character for you to be able to do an impression of that character.
Oh, interesting.
Because if you didn't, or if you didn't passionately feel about them, like you wouldn't be able to do it. Whether that's like love or hate or whatever, but it's like for the most point, it's their mannerisms or whatever. You're in love with that aspect. That's how you're able to like imitate that.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. If you didn't have some sort of an interest, some sort of a driving force, why go through the trouble?
If you completely like ignored somebody or like they weren't even on your radar, you'll be like, what? Who? Like, I don't care. Like, you wouldn't be able to do an impression of that person.
Yeah, like look at Obama.
Yeah.
A ton of people do Obama impressions.
Yeah.
A ton of people do George W. Bush impressions. Yeah. Like, these are ultimate compliments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's cool to see that most presidents have like, including Trump. I think he's even talked about it. Like, he's like, I find it really funny, and I appreciate those guys.
You don't see a lot of Pence or Kamala Harris impressions
because
nobody cares.
Yeah, bro.
You know what I'm saying?
If you think about the history of the United States, as told in 100 years in an elementary school or high school, where does Pence come up on that? It's a footnote in a book somewhere. They're like, and the greatest president.
No, but also as a personality on TV, or like we've seen his speeches, we've seen his debates or whatever.
Sit through that?
Like,
oh my god,
you're not. He's not a fascinating guy.
No, not at all.
You know what I'm saying? So even as an impressionist, you're not like, who cares? Like, you're not trying to do that.
There's no vested interest because you understand he's not in the zeitgeist. So it makes no sense to even talk about somebody that, like, to imitate someone that is not relevant culturally. I mean, you were vice president for 4 years and currently are.
Yeah.
But nobody cares about
Nobody cares. And I think that's true with like it's people always say it's like, people always make fun of the presidents, but it's like there's a reason for that. Because
does anybody actually care about the vice president? I can't think of a vice president that was noteworthy enough to be made fun of. Even Biden.
I mean, Biden was a vice president. But it's like,
did they make fun of him when he was vice president? Was there like, I can't remember of something noteworthy, but there's a ton of Obama shit I can remember right now, including the way he spoke and like that long
and people
that people would
do. Say like when they come into the limelight is when people do that. But it's like, yeah, sure, they come into the limelight, but it's also, once again, it goes back to that topic of influence. Is, this person is now, I mean, whether you agree or not, if this person is the president, millions of people voted for this guy and millions of people voted against this guy.
Yes.
Which means he's making an impression on your head. And whether it's Trump or Obama or George W. Bush or whoever was, Bill Clinton, all these people, that's why they make an impression because they're so much in the limelight amongst millions of people that it's like there's got to be some brains that are picking up those unique characteristics, and then they're gonna imitate that. There's a reason why the vice president people are not those people, because they don't have that charisma, they don't have that impression, they don't have that thing that could impress your mind.
Nor should they, in my opinion. If you think about like whoever the front runner is,
or Kamala Harris could never be the president. You know what I'm saying?
God, no.
Or any, you look at any of those other ones back in the day, like they could never be that. You know what I'm saying?
Or although I would donate money to a campaign where Kamala Harris and Mike Pence were on the same ticket.
That's so funny.
Like president and vice president together.
Who would be president though?
I don't care. I know they would never get elected. Yeah. Just for the sheer amount of comedy that would come out of that campaign. Oof, it would be years of gold.
Yeah.
Like that, I think, would be a reason for everybody to just start making fun of them. Can you imagine those two on the stage together? I'm like, whoa.
She's from California. This guy's from Indiana. And
they both lie about shit.
They both lie about shit.
You're not African American.
They both are like
you're
extreme,
not straight.
Yeah. Extreme versions of things.
Like, I mean, I'm serious though. Like, I feel like
I hate the extremes in politics. Like, I was having a discussion with one of my friends, and I was like, how could, I mean, in present day, like, like how people talk about like, we accept like somebody's gay or somebody's trans, like we don't think much about it. It's like, yeah. And the same way, I'm like, how could you be like a hardcore Democrat or a Republican? Like, how could you agree on everything somebody says? You know what I'm saying? Like, aren't you?
I get what you're saying. Like,
aren't you? Can you not? Like, it's like there are degrees to which you can agree or disagree on a thing, but I don't think you can, any one person is like, it's no, I completely disagree with Trump, or I completely agree or disagree with Biden. There's no way that can be a thing. There's no way that can be a political party thing. It's like you agree on everything this party does or everything this party says. Really, everything.
I'm in the
every single thing.
Honestly, I have no political affiliation, and I feel like I'm looked at as a bad guy for not picking a team or any team.
Yeah,
I look at it as like,
I have the advantage of an outsider, and nobody really cares about my political opinion. And
I wasn't born here either, but
so it's like nobody asked me what I am, and they just assume things or whatever. I'm like, but at the same time, it's like I'm not hung up on anything, and I'm like, but I have like varying degrees of opinion on things, and it's I'm not gonna say what is what, but it's, but you know what I'm saying? It's hard for me to see how any one person could be like a single, like, yeah, I agree with everything. You don't agree with everything your spouse says.
Yeah, no, that's...
You don't agree with everything your best friend says or your child says or like anything. Whoever else like is closer, your parent says.
Bro,
like,
most of the time you don't agree with what you say to
what
yourself.
you say, like, yeah.
You're arguing with yourself all the time.
You're still like questioning yourself. It's like, is that really the thing? Like,
exactly.
It's like, we have those things all the time. It's like, how can, that's the thing that fascinates me, is like, how can somebody be like, no, I'm a hardcore Democrat, I'm a hardcore Republican. I'm like, how do you make those points? Like, how do you, it's not possible. That's, to me, I don't trust somebody who says that.
How do you convolute your identity so much that you attach it to something that makes
it's impossible?
It's ridiculous to say that you can be fully this or fully that.
Yeah.
Is no part of you an individual that has questions and things?
It's the same thing I'll say about like Rogan. It's like people who like, they're like Rogan fans who'll be like, I agree with everything he says. Like, no. Or somebody who says like, I hate that guy, I disagree with it. No, but it's like both those things are not true. When you are catering to like, I don't know, that's wide of a audience net, there's no fucking way that you can hate somebody or disagree with somebody that much, or you can agree with somebody 100%.
So what's your opinion of this? I look at Rogan as
or any of these comics.
No, but like to go to Rogan on the podcast side of things, I look at him as the index of the encyclopedia. You're welcome to read the index.
Yeah.
And think of that as everything. Or you can look at it as an index and actually dive into that encyclopedia and make your own opinion.
I mean, I for sure, this is what I honestly think.
That's the way I look at it. I think that's why I buy books about people that he has on that I think are interesting. I'm like, I'd like to know more.
He's definitely like a great interviewer.
Oh, hell yeah.
Great podcaster, for sure. Without a doubt, like great interviewer and everything. But I do like agree and disagree with like a lot of those things. Like it's like his points of view on things and stuff like that. I'm not going to say which is which, but it's like you have to, you know what I'm saying? I think even if you talk to, I haven't talked to the guy. Like I met him briefly at Creek in the Cave. Like,
oh, nice.
Like just ran into him, just said like, hey, big fan, whatever, blah, 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 and all that. And talked to the guy and everything. Like I don't listen to every podcast. I don't all that. But it's like, I talked to him, that brief moment I had, I was like, he was very like attentive and he was like, oh yeah, where are you from? Like, what do you do? Oh, really? And I could see in that moment is like, this guy, I don't know if he pretends to care or he cares, but in that moment, he made me feel heard. And he made me feel like I'm the one thing that, and there was like obviously like some person next to him, another person and all that. Like there was like a bunch of people clamoring for his attention. He needed enough to talk to me, And I was like, in that moment, I realized like, oh, this guy is a great interviewer because he makes like whoever he meets with, he makes them feel like they matter.
You got to think of it. So to give it to
and that's the same thing like presidents do. Like, when they're on their campaign trail, they do that same thing. They make people feel like they matter, right? Like it's like, oh yeah, yes, absolutely. Like,
isn't that ultimately what the comedian is doing on the stage, making the crowd matter? We're in on it together.
Yeah, we're in here and this point in time together. I'm not being insincere about it, but I'm also, is that the same material that I'm like recycling through all these audiences? Yeah, but to you, I'm still like sincerely feeling it from within and speaking that to you.
But you're not recycling it because it's your material.
Yeah,
and the only way you can convey that art is through small segments of crowds.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure when I met Rogan, like when he said those things, like, oh, where are you from? And all those things, like, I mean, he probably says that to like a lot of comedians or whoever he meets with. But it also doesn't necessarily mean that's insincere. Or it also doesn't immediately mean that he cares about me.
Okay, so think of it this way.
Both those things are true.
But think of it this way. And and you can break it down into different ways of validating what you think about his sincerity or invalidating his sincerity.
Mm-hmm.
How many people have negative shit to talk about a person?
Yeah.
How much of that is genuine?
Yeah.
What is the gravity of his work that can confirm nor deny what is being said? So if I broke it down in that, there aren't that many people, if any, that have anything negative to say about the man who genuinely know him.
Okay.
The negativity that is about him isn't genuine most of the time, if not all of the time. What is the body of his work? Well, 2,100 plus episodes of his podcast, accumulating probably over 100,000 hours or whatever that number is times 300. That number, or actually we did it 14,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
14,000 hours, you cannot pretend to care.
Sure.
Does that make any sense? Like, if I were to break it down into factual ways of, is Joe Rogan a sincere person when he takes that 10 seconds to talk to you, or isn't he?
But also, I would say,
how could you possibly do that for so many thousands of hours and pretend?
I mean,
even presidents aren't in front of a camera that often.
Sure.
Nobody is.
Yeah.
Actors aren't. Nobody is. You have to be genuine at that point.
Sure. Yeah.
Much less of unless you're a sociopath.
Yeah.
And then I can go into like, well, is he? But he actually.
But you gotta also like remember that he's a comedian, because as a comedian, like for instance, we talked about this, like before you film your special, you run through this like 200 times.
Sure.
At a like 200 shows or whatever, and that means repeating the same fucking thing 200 times.
Right.
In the same intensity, same, every crowd believes you, and it's like, oh my God, he's talking to me.
But how much better is it getting
the same thing
every single time you do it as a comedian, culminating to that special, right? You're not just doing the exact same material. You'd be lying to yourself. There's word economy all the time. There's things that you add and subtract, and you move around orders because.
No, I mean, I'm saying
you're practicing work. Sure. It's for me. I wouldn't want to dismiss it as you're just regurgitating the same thing over and over again. No, you're perfecting and honing in on it.
All I'm saying is like. You gotta still remember that he is aware that there is a camera in front of him.
Of course.
That he is aware that so many people watch him and listen to him. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying he's being insincere, but I'm saying.
I'd also say he started doing it before.
He's also not a dumb guy. You know what I'm saying?
You can't be who he is if you're a dumb person. Yeah. That doesn't work that way. It's intelligence is synonymous with people that are successful, and that goes into various types of intelligence. Mike Tyson is an extremely intelligent person.
Yeah.
Look, I have a blatant issue with Roganists and non-Roganists, if you want to put it into that realm of like people that are like, everything he says is the gospel or whatever he says is the devil. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with both of you?
Both those things are wrong.
Yes, stop it. Stop idealizing, like putting your entire identity in something that makes no sense.
He's just a person like you. He's good at those things that like he's honed it over a period of time.
Yes.
Listen to it, whatever, like, like you're a fan of the podcast, whatever, like you do that. But also have your own point of view and look at things through your lens. That's the problem in subscribing so much to like somebody's thing. That is like, if I were to listen to like just Carlin,
you would think only comedy is Carlin.
I would just think like, oh, only that is that. Like, whatever he says is right. Whatever Bill Burr says is right. Whatever Eddie Izzard says, or Robin Williams, or Stephen Wright, or
any of the guys, or the gals.
It's like, or the girls. It's like I would. It's not like that. You know what I'm saying? It can never be that. Like, you have that. There'll be disagreements. You'll have to stand on what you think is true, and you might be right. You might be wrong. People in the comment section might vilify you or like say bad things about you. You gotta. But that's what makes you who you are. That's what makes you interesting. That's what makes you a person.
I think I had a professor in college, and I think he explained it to me so eloquently, or to the class. He said, you can leave college thinking you've gained knowledge, or you can leave college with the ability of critical thinking.
Yeah.
The choice is yours.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to get the same shit.
Yeah.
And I think what he was trying to say and what you're trying to say is like, if you have knowledge, that means you blatantly believe whatever is being told by person A.
Yeah.
Or if you have critical thinking, you say, that's an interesting thought. I wonder if there's any truth to it. And then you go and do your own exploration.
Research, yeah.
At the end of it, you may come up with, hey, he was right.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
But that extra step is what is the difference.
It's what
I think is what we are both saying right now is like, stop being a woke Democrat or a staunch conservative Republican.
Yeah.
Start being you and saying part of what they say I kind of like, and I'm like, hey, I like the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
Cool. But that doesn't mean I'm voting for a Republican necessarily.
Yeah.
Nor does it mean the flip side on the Democrats.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. It's
I think that's exactly what you're saying is like, just stop doing this and be you first.
Yeah. There exists no binaries in life. And maybe that's the problem with the two-party system. You know what I'm saying? Like it's you need like, I don't know, multiple points of view.
And you need those points of view to be fair.
I know shit about politics.
No, I completely agree with you. I think we are all on a varying spectrum of emotion, and we need to at some point remember that we are on a flying fireball.
Yeah, bro.
We forget that shit, bro, all the time. We're like, we are in a flying fireball through space.
Like people, we're like hard at debating about like whether global warming is real or not. Like, and I was in India in month of May. It's hot as hell. I experienced the hottest summers twice this year. Same intensity, and it's like I happen to like both south of India and both here like Texas. It's the same thing, and I was like, oh, I've evidenced this like twice. Like whether or not I don't know, people believe in all these things like global warming, climate change, whatever. But I feel like we are in this planet, and it goes back to this man.
Carlin. I was going to reference him too.
This man said it, I don't know, in 2008 or something. He said, the planet will be fine. You will not be there. The humanity is just a case of like bad fleas that the planet is going to like just shake away, and then the planet is fine. Planet has gone through this cycle of like heat and cold. Whether or not you believe in this global warming or not, who cares? Our hubris is just limited for this speck of time, this small infinitesimal point in space.
A pinhole on a calendar.
And you'll be forgotten. You'll not exist. There'll be some other consciousness, some other alien thing in some other part of the universe, which is already there, probably there, and you don't even know it. They don't find us even interesting. They flew by so many times. They checked us out, and they're like, we don't want to. You're so self-important. We are so self-important. And this man had the vision to say that, I don't know, like 15 years ago. Miss this guy so much.
Likewise.
And he was so right in saying that we say like save the whales, save the planet, save the thing. And I was like, no. You care about yourself. That's why you're saying those things. And the planet will be fine. The planet will get overheated or cold or whatever. It'll go through those cycles, and it's always been through those cycles.
If the planet wants to get rid of us, it'll just get rid of us.
It'll
fix itself.
And you are just like the dinosaurs. You are just like another species that just came and was like at the top of the chain, for the food chain, for a little speck of time.
You blasphemous fool! How could you possibly say that? We are the most important thing ever. We are the pinnacle of everything.
I still am dumbfounded I always by that thought. Think of like post-apocalyptic scenarios where it's like all the humans are gone, and then there are all these buildings in like Highland Park, all these places, and then there's like rodents going through the roads. They're in here. There's like all these things, and I always think it's like, who will survive? It's like my PhD friend in Boston, the guy was like most likely rodents, like because like rodents are like very like
resilient,
yeah.
and the cockroaches, obviously.
And I think of all that. It's like, they'll be like roaming through the streets. They'll be gnawing at the buildings. They'll be doing this. They'll be shitting this thing. It'll be like I like to view it from like an alien perspective, and then just wish there was like a camera and just view it. That's what's happening over there. Okay, that's what's going on. It's like without any disgust, without anything. It's like that's what. Yeah, these set of people got extinct, just like the dodo, just like the 1,000 millions other species that got extinct. Yeah, this species also got extinct. And look at this. Like okay, and then even that goes away, and then something else comes. I don't know what comes.
But what's weird is if you think about it.
I like post-apocalyptic scenarios.
Alphas don't survive in the animal kingdom.
Yeah.
Neither do the prey. So the predators and the prey do not survive. Yeah. What does survive?
Scavengers.
The fucking disgusting shit. A cockroach and a rat.
Yeah.
There's nothing pleasant about either one of these.
The scavengers, the rodents. Yeah, those are the ones. The disgusting scum.
The most vile part of the animal kingdom is the one that survives the apocalypse.
Yes.
Why?
I don't know.
Why aren't the flamingos around and shit? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, why is it? Does that also mean that over the course of the 4.7 billion years that the Earth has been going through these patterns, are we all not the descendants of the most disgusting and vile, evolutionarily
we could be,
speaking?
Yeah.
Could we possibly? Does that not mean something so strange?
Yeah.
Are we not the virus we spoke of earlier?
I'm pretty sure that was the reason we are surviving is because of viruses.
Yeah, we are anything that you see on the planet Earth right now is too hard-headed to die, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's it. That's why you exist. Like not just us, all animals, down to even Bambi. Too fucking hard-headed to die.
Yeah.
You survived nature that long. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's psychotic to think about, really.
Yeah. I know.
I think on that note, we can say goodnight to our friends who are listening. Thank you very much. This was an absolute pleasure, man. This was so much fun.
Yeah, that's so good.
So thank you for doing this. Tell everybody where they can find you on socials. I know you got a special coming up soon that you're going to be taping, right? Where's that going to be?
Wait, not a special per se, but it's like I taped a thing with a couple of my friends, Paul Smith and Pung Dung. Shout out to them. In Montgomery, Alabama.
Yes,
I taped it.
Of course, an Indian comedian would be in Montgomery with another Chinese comedian and another Indian comedian.
No, he's Paul Smith is like Korean American.
Korean American. So 2 Koreans and an Indian go to
well, one Korean American, one Chinese, one Indian.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Walk into a church in Montgomery, Alabama.
I'm gonna edit all of this shit.
And it's all like it's a. That's like a headline to a joke. That's like a setup to a joke.
Yeah, like a priest, a rabbi, and walk into a bar. It's one of those.
Yeah, and we had a really good set and everything. Like we had like 2 shows. The second show was the best, and we're trying to like edit that, put it on a tape. I don't know what's the thing from there. Like maybe we'll just post it on like social media or like whatever. But all of you guys can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at A Run for My Life. That's ARUNFORMYLIFE. A Run for My Life. That's just a play on my name, Arun Rama, and on YouTube, you can find me at Arun Rama Comedy, and that's it.
And all of this is linked all over the place in this podcast and also in my IG. Like when you see this, there will be reels and reels with this man being tagged all in them. So go follow him. Amazing comedian, part of a group of Dallas guys and gals that are definitely going to leave an impression one day on the comedy scene. They're just, they're honing their skills right now.
I truly hope you come to like more shows and actually watch, like, get to see my material.
I definitely will.
Yeah.
So I always
like I just don't want anybody to like have like a one-dimensional view of like whatever they saw.
Are you working this weekend?
No, this weekend I'm out of town.
What about next?
Next weekend I'll be there.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Next weekend. So I try to like,
and we'll remain in touch, like, for sure.
I appreciate that, definitely. I try to hit up Hyenas, Addison, Dallas Comedy Club, and then House of Comedy in Plano is a new one. I haven't been there, but I want to go check that one out too.
Yeah.
The reason I do that is diversity.
Yeah.
And then I never know who's going to be popping in.
Yeah.
Like randomly somebody will pop in and I'll get an opportunity to talk to somebody.
I think the next major show, can I?
Yeah, definitely.
The next major show is so I run a monthly show at the Dallas Comedy Club on every second Friday called This Just Happened.
Okay.
And it's a news themed show where it's like all the comedians on the lineup are always new, and we ask them to like ditch their regular stand-up routine, and it's more like we ask them to like pick news topics like politics, sports, entertainment, you name it, etc. Environment, weather, whatever, finance, all that, and they do like 8 minutes based on news topics in that particular news items in that particular topic for 8 minutes, and freshly written jokes. Think of it more like a SNL Weekend Update or the late night monologues, but just that it's sticking to like one topic, and it basically like it hones them and gets them ready for stuff like that.
That's cool. That's interesting.
And it's like it's a challenge. So if you're coming to check that out, it's the next one in October is on 13th of October.
So definitely
Friday, 10:30 p.m. We are a new show. We are pretty much similar to SNL Weekend Update, late night monologues, and this is not happening as you not this not happening. It's called This Week at the Comedy Cellar.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's very similar to that. It's very similar to all these 3 concepts where we encourage comics to like ditch regular stand-up and then write new jokes. And that this is good for the comics. It's also like refreshing for the audience members. because you're trying to like listen to like jokes based on like current news topics. And
that sounds like a lot of fun, man. So
yeah, it's a lot of fun, but also be kind. You know, these are all like fresh jokes. We never practiced them, we never done it, and we never honed them.
It's 10:30 p.m. You should have some sort of substance in your system
fun.
at that point. So have a couple of drinks or smoke a joint, whatever you're gonna do.
Yes.
But like,
and it's always fun.
Go in with an open mind, and you'll have a lot of fun, I'm sure.
100%. It's always fun. It's always been fun. You'll see new comics. Always, I try to promote almost all the comics. I try to make it more democratic by roping in a different lineup like every time. So I would encourage everybody to like come and check that out.
So check out Arun's page, follow him, go check him out. Some live comedy.
It's called This Just Happened.
And it's called This Just Happened every second Friday
at Dallas Comedy Club.
Dallas Comedy Club. Yeah. Arun, thank you again for doing this. I really appreciate it. Can't wait to see more.